Greetings to viewers and fellow Final Fantasy fans. This is Final Fantasy Fan 012 and welcome to episode 6 of Comic Studies. This time, we're in for quite the ride on this one, because this time, we are doing Mark Waid and Alex Ross's DC epic Kingdom Come. I am joined here today with two of my colleagues from the UN Space Sea Wolf Squadron, Wolftain Media,
Yo.
and Dominic Powell.
Good evening, everybody. Hope you all are doing well on this fine evening.
Alright. So, this is going to be quite the wild ride on this one. And as we're actually going to go through the story, I will showcase a little bit of some background within the making of the story, or at least what's the intention of the story. And there's already, but so it's right after oh yeah, which one was because it was straight after Alex Ross's first debut of doing art for comics, all of the Marvels, and so then this is already his second one, a la Kingdom Come, and this is when it's when he and Mark Waid, I think he was in a conversation with Mark Waid, or maybe Mark Waid called him up, and then and then they decided to do an Elseworld story together on DC Comics, and yet he wanted to do a story, but then he decided to help him along with it. And at least I'm probably gonna mess up the story, as at least at the how that came to be with the creation of the story, but I could be wrong, because if I'm ever wrong, you can actually tell me the full story. So yeah, even though Mark Waid is already the writer for the story and Alex Ross did the art, I already mentioned in the previous 5 episodes when we were doing Justice League, Liberty, and Justice that Alex Ross is a fantastic storyteller. Though Mark Waid, he did the dialogue for the story, as well as how some of the panels and the pages would be placed in terms of the storytelling. Alex Ross did a lot of the storytelling, not just from the designs alone.
Yeah, it goes to show that the guy doesn't do just art, especially of the sequential variety, right? But
Mhm.
also he is a very talented writer.
Absolutely, yes. But yeah, we're gonna be in for quite the ride now. And again, I probably messed up on the full story and how the story came to be. So if I'm ever wrong, you can feel free to tell me the full story as to how the story came to be. Hey, so now let's get into the story proper. So we start off right off the beginning with a page where we see an eagle with a harpoon, with a spear, fighting a bat. Make sure you note that, because there's going to be a lot of important stuff. There's going to be a lot of important stuff throughout this entire story, because this is one thing you got to note. You got to note that. Note that. And then the next page is actually, there's already fire. There's fire everywhere. There's red everywhere. There's already a hand coming out that has a thunderbolt on its hand, and then we see a man behind the smoke, and he seems to be screaming to the sky that he lost something important to him. And it actually says from this dialogue, there were voices and thunderings and lightnings and an earthquake, and there followed a hail and fire mingled with blood. There fell a great star from heaven, burning as if it were a lamp, and I beheld heard an angel saying with a loud voice, "Woe, woe, woe to the inhabitants of the earth." And this is already, and then the next page we begin with our eyes of the story, named Norman McKay, who's already telling a verse from the Bible to an old man who's already a friend of his, and he's already in a hospital. He's dying. He says he's seeing these visions. He doesn't really believe him because he's already going crazy about this because he's seeing the end of the world, because it looks like he's seeing the end of the world. So then, but then he dies from old age to this. So then he attends to his funeral. He wishes all of his respects, and then suddenly, now we see Norman McKay the next day throughout the city, and then suddenly there's destruction. There's a destruction. I think that's There's already a statue there. I forgot what it actually is, but sorry, it's a symbol of what justice is. It's already the blindfold on. She has a tablet. There's already holding a scales indicating justice is blind. And so forgot what it actually is. And so then it's already fallen over. We see a statue fall over. Dominic will be back. So the statue's fallen over, and we will see a little bit later as to how that happens. So then he's gone to a restaurant called Planet Krypton, which is a bit similar to Planet Hollywood, where it's a restaurant where there's all these different old school movie images and props around the restaurant. And this time it is superhero themed, in case is the Justice League, especially because the food is themed around the Justice League, every single one of them. And the waiters and waitresses are dressed after DC superheroes.
Pretty cool.
And then we finally see this page, this panel right here. Norm McKay leaves the restaurant, and then we also see in this panel there's a yellow and red streak on there, and it is the Flash, and we will see what he looks like a little bit later, sometime later. And then, if you remember from the fallen statue that Norman came by, that destroyed a building and it itself got cracked, the statue, this is the result of that. This is what we're seeing. It's the new generation of heroes that is already destroying everything because they're not being much more to heroes. Because this was written back in 1996, and this entire story is a commentary, or in other words, a reconstruction of superhero comic books, and it's actually a commentary on superhero comics back in the 90s, when they were all big on the anti-hero stuff. Someone like Spawn or Wolverine or any other anti-heroes you could think of. Yeah. And we're seeing this here. They're not being much more. They're basically what every old man would think of with young people. They're irresponsible. They don't hold anything else accountable. Oh, Dominic's back. So they're already causing destruction everywhere in spite of being called heroes, but they're not being much more heroic. They're being very much more akin to villains. This is the new generation of heroes. And so then people are dying everywhere, and they're not even, and some of them are just fighting just for the hell of it. Some of them are just still doing that probably just like for fame, or probably for fame, not just for fame, but just, mostly just for fun. They're already just doing this for their own amusement. Suddenly, there's an attack that happened on Kansas, which we will see a bit later, as seen right here. We will see a bit later. So then now we see Norman McKay at church. I think is he a Christian or is he Catholic? Can't remember.
Either or.
Either or.
Let's say he's of the Abrahamic religious faith.
Right. So then he's saying one of the verses from the Bible, and then people are looking at him in the church and are looking at him at shock as to what he said. Then he says, "Forgive me," because he's already what he's seeing is that it's the equivalent of what a lot of people have been feeling with superhero comics back then. Is like, okay, why aren't the heroes being much more heroic as in now? Like, some of them are saying, like, the heroes back then, like Superman or Batman, they're already just now like relics long forgotten. They're like old and washed up. So then this is the new stuff. And then,
Don't forget Wonder Woman of the Trinity.
yeah, like literally everybody in the Justice League, anyone else in the DC universe, like everybody in the Justice League or the Teen Titans, they're just like old relics in the past, or just something to just be used for merchandising or just for licensing, like we saw in the Planet Krypton restaurant earlier. So then, for just to give way to the new heroes, which are just being um pretty much just a bunch of dicks.
Violent, bullies, you name it.
Yep.
Yeah, they were operating under different shades of anti-heroism instead of learning the lessons from their elders.
Yeah. And so then Norman is all alone in the church and he's ripping out pages from the Bible in shame from what he just said because he feels like he's just losing hope. But then suddenly he's seeing the visions that his late friend was seeing. And then suddenly we see the specter come in through the window pane and he thinks it's a demon, but he's come to introduce himself as the specter. And so then he's not actually he introduces himself not as a demon but as an angel because the specter in the DC universe is an angel of death in the DC universe. That's that's basically what he's meant to be, or what he's actually supposed to be anyway.
Well, the Spectre's not really the angel of death. Like he actually represents God's vengeance.
Mm. Yeah, in other words, DC's very own spirit of vengeance.
Yes.
And so then throughout the story, he's basically like his Virgil to Norman McKay's Dante in the Dante Alighieri's The Divine Comedy, as he's already taken him through many different the many different stages throughout, such as the many different circles through hell to purgatory to finally heaven, by seeing through all of this, by witnessing all the events that are happening, by going through all of this, but yet it's changing him. It will change him as the story is going on. And a lot of it is going to be for the worse. So then Spectre asks Norman to take his hand, and then we see that he's actually in a field, and it's revealed it's actually Clark in Kansas, and he's not in the Superman suit, and he's not in the Superman suit. He's just already in Kansas, already taking care of everything else in the farm. Like, he's already building up the farm, he's like repairing it, taking care of the animals. And of course, to indicate that it is Superman, he's already in the pose, one of the iconic poses from one of the Golden Age Superman comics. And so then suddenly Diana comes in and she asks, "What are you doing? You're not changing a thing. You're not making a difference here like you normally are." And Superman is like, "What's it? What is there for me to do?" So then Diana, we constantly see Diana calling Superman, almost calling him Clark, but but she reassures herself by calling him by Cal, his Kryptonian name. And suddenly she accidentally presses on a button, which is revealed it's not actually Kansas, but it's rather the Fortress of Solitude. Yeah, it's a reprogramming of Kansas, but it's actually in the Fortress of Solitude. So then Superman has been living in solitude all of his life, and we will see a lot later as to how this happened. And so then Diana is tells him, "Have you seen the news as of lately? Everywhere around the news." So then Clark goes in, then he says on, and it's a whole monitor of TVs everywhere of the news talking about all this. And then we see the attack that happened on Kansas, and it's that the anti-heroes are already causing as much destruction as it is that they normally are, but they're already attacking what looks to be Parasite. Yeah, it actually looks like Parasite, and suddenly, one of the anti-heroes suddenly explodes after being touched by Parasite, but then suddenly, boom, everything is destroyed. All the all the radiation there has been poisoned. It's just set off a nuke. So then all the animals are dead, everyone else is dead, except for Magog, because he was actually there to witness all the events that happened. And so then Clark exits, and then then he tells Diana to leave. Yeah, he tells Diana to go back to the mascara, tells her to leave, and then leave she does. And so then Norman sees Wonder Woman flying, and then suddenly we then see the Spectre taking Norman with the other views of another hero, and this is where we see the Flash. And we see that the Flash is just in Kingdom Come, he's just everywhere all at once. He's always running. He just never stops. In fact, the way he's drawn entirely in red with yellow streaks of lightning, and he's wearing the Jay Garrick's helmet that we see here.
It shows how
Sweet.
much more. Yeah, not only sweet, but it also reflects on how in tune he is with the Speed Force. Because what separates him from his Uncle Barry is like he's more connected to the Speed Force in a more spiritual sense than Barry, who looked at it more as the mind of an investigative scientist.
Yeah, and that's why he's exactly like that. So then he's everywhere all at once. He's always running. He just never stops. He's almost like a myth to all. Like he's just almost like a Hermes to it all, given his helmet.
I think that I'm sure that is the point where for Ross like drawing Wally in such a way,
Mm.
but
Oh
to
wait,
see like how
that's
yeah to
actually
see how
Wally. The Flash in this universe.
well yeah because Barry has been dead ever since Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Duh. I don't know why I completely forgot about that. Because I forgot that Crisis on Infinite Earths happened. Even though it was a major event, but yeah. But then we also see Hawkman, and then he looks a lot more like he's actually one of the Egyptian gods. Because he's actually has a hawk for a head, and he's already much more like a watcher to all. Like he's always soaring through the skies, like he is a watcher.
Hmm.
And then we also see another page of Green Lantern, and I'm not sure if this is supposed to be either Alan Scott or Hal Jordan in
Can
this
you show
universe.
can you show the audience the picture or at least the panel?
Yeah, he's shown in this
That's
Emerald.
Alan Scott.
Oh, it's Alex Scott. So yeah,
Yeah,
we
the
get
the OG Green Lantern.
yeah. So we got, even though Wally West is already having Jay Garrick's helmet on, but this is actually Alex Scott because yeah. Now I remember why, because Hal Jordan has been killed when he was turned into Parallax.
Yeah,
Or
he sacrificed himself so for Final Night. And then Kyle, like he became the only Green Lantern for a good long while, well over 20 years before Green Lantern Rebirth.
yeah,
And then that time after Hal sacrificed himself, like he became the new host for the Spectre.
yeah, because I think what was his name? Jim Corrigan, who is
Yeah,
the
Jim Corrigan.
yeah, Jim
He was the
Corrigan.
original host.
Yeah, we do see Jim Corrigan here in the story. He is actually the Spectre. It's not Hal Jordan. So then he's created Alan Scott, he's created this Emerald City above Earth, saying like there's nothing for me to do around Earth, so I'm just gonna patrol the galaxy like the Green Lanterns already are. But the problem is nobody's coming, so then he's just sitting there all by himself. So then a bunch of times we then see a splash page, or not a splash page, we then see a panel of Atlantis, then Themyscira, and then some of the other heroes who they left. Again, it's still some of the anti-heroes. And then suddenly we go to Gotham, and we see Gotham has turned into a police state at this point. So then criminals are still running amok.
Yeesh.
And then we see a bunch of, not just one Batman, but a bunch of them. And it's actually the mechs everywhere around. So he's already patrolling, everywhere's patrolling. Yeah, they're just everywhere all at once, just to patrol the streets of Gotham. Then suddenly, Norman is then bickering with the Spectre, saying, then if you're saying you're much of a hero, as much as you already are, then why aren't you doing much of a thing? We have to have some sort of heroes. And then we go to the bridge, and then people are running because the anti-heroes are running amok. They're already destroying everything. And then Norman McKay, a car bridge is about to fall, like a carriage is about to fall. The bridge is about to collapse. Or no, it's just the carriage that's about to fall. Then Norman McKay says, "We need hope." But then suddenly, as the carriage is about to fall, we then see it's about to fall into the water. But then a tornado from water comes up, and then he already sends the people to safety. And then we see Superman in this image, and his new suit. In his new suit, he's looking a lot different than how he normally is. It's still Superman, but if you saw it, especially in the thumbnail, the shield on his chest has become more angular, and the yellow on his suit. Oh, Eloise is here. How you doing, Eloise? And so then it's become more angular instead of just the traditional S there that he normally has, and the yellow is in place for black. And it's an indication that, yeah, it's going to be a bit darker. Also indicating that Superman's kind of been a bit jaded as to what happened. We'll see why a bit later. And then everyone else is cheering that, yes, hope has finally returned because Superman is back. Norman McKay was happy about this too, but then suddenly he sees this flash of vision, and we see what looks to be Superman yelling at the sky that he's lost something, and then he sees a worried face on this. Then Norman McKay has this worried expression and saying, "Oh no, this is the beginning of the end." Because of the many, and that actually ends chapter 1, and now we go to chapter 2, not Liberty and Justice, Truth and Justice, because chapter 1 was called, actually it's actually in here, go back, Strange Visitor. And oh yeah, and this page in the beginning of the chapter is just everyone in the Justice League. We do see Norman McKay in this image because he does have to do with all the events, witnessing all of it.
Yep, he does. He has a part to play throughout that whole story.
Mm-hmm. And so then, throughout this entire story, we're seeing a lot of, even at the beginning of the chapters, this chapter says here, "And I saw the 7 angels which stood before God, and another angel came and stood at the altar, having a golden censer. And the angel took the censer and filled it with fire at the altar. And the 7 angels prepared themselves to sound. So because in this page, I think it's like because of the torch that's at the bottom. I like to say it's the torch that at the Statue of Liberty that it holds. I like to believe. So then, throughout this entire story, we're getting a lot of biblical references throughout this entire story. And in this story, this is very much more akin to the Dies Irae. And the story of the Dies Irae is it was after Jesus died, and then a lot of people have seemed to love Jesus, actually love Jesus. And so then they've written songs about him. And then one of the songs is that Jesus would come back as more vengeful. And so then the Dies Irae is a song pretty much about death, because the Dies Irae translates to the day of wrath. And actually, if I'm actually gonna look up the Dies Irae melody, because we see the Dies Irae melody heard a lot, especially within a lot of media. The Dies Irae chant. Actually, getting the video up, make sure it's the right one, or the one I'm trying to look for. Or nope, that's not the one. Actually, yeah, screw it. So this goes, so the Dies Irae man goes, Dies Irae, Dies Irae. We see this melody heard a lot, like, and so then, actually, we heard this, the first, actually, one instance that we heard this, like, the scene in Star Wars Episode 4, New Hope, when Luke goes to see his Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru, and he sees that his house has been burnt down, and and his aunt and uncle have been burnt in the fire. Or the other instance where Simba was running from the hyenas after Scar told him to run and to never come back here after witnessing the death of his dad. Those have the Dies Irae in there if you actually listen closely. In fact, a musical fact, by the way, we hear the melody of the Dies Irae heard in almost all the songs in Sweeney Todd, because that follows that story.
You're not wrong.
And so now, why is this important? Is because this is what we're going to be seeing here throughout the story when the time comes. Or actually, that we saw on Norman McKay's Face of Warrior when he saw that Superman's come back. This is very much akin to the Dies Irae. And so then, now that Superman has come back, now he's gathered everybody from the Justice League. Almost everybody. He's got Wonder Woman, Hawkman, Green Lantern, The Flash, Power Girl, and I like to assume that Shining Knight's up there. Go to the page, because I know that design. It's right here. Wait. Yeah, that right there. I think that's Shining Knight. I like to believe.
I keep putting it in the camera again.
It's due to the armor. It's this guy right here, the chainmail around his neck. I like to believe that's Shining.
Yeah, you're correct. That is Shining Knight.
Okay, yeah. Because it's due to his design. Wait, no, that's not Shining Knight, because he doesn't have the chainmail. Never mind, because I don't think he's anywhere to be found here. Anywhere to be found on that page. Oh, there he is.
You found him?
Yeah, it's wait, nope. Yeah, I want to make sure the camera's facing that. I think I'm pointing to it. It's this guy here.
Actually, no. That's not Shining Knight. That's actually Ray Terrell, the Ray.
Oh.
Yeah. So who you're pointing at earlier, that was Shining Knight. The guy like you were pointing out earlier, that's actually Ray Terrell, the Ray, who is a successor to the original Ray.
Right. Yeah, that explains his design because he's all covered in gold. It explains that he is almost like a light. So then he's gathered literally everybody in the Justice League. They're trying to clean up the mess that the anti-heroes have all started. And so then they're attacking the Statue of Liberty and they're trying to clean up the mess. And then we see one of the anti-heroes, or actually two, they actually get knocked out by Red Robin, who's actually Dick Grayson in this universe. So Dick Grayson is not Nightwing. He's actually Red Robin. We do see Batman a bit shortly. So then the Justice League come to take care of them. They come to incapacitate them. And so then Superman, everyone's now wanting interviews with Superman of what took them so long. And then he asks, then Superman then says, many of you may remember us. We've been away for a while. That was our mistake. In our ambiance, a new breed of metahumans has arisen. A vast phalanx of self-styled heroes unwilling to preserve life or defend the defenseless. A legion of vigilantes who perverted their great powers, who forsworn the responsibilities due them. We returned to teach them the meaning of truth and justice. Together, we will guide this new breed with wisdom, and if necessary, with force above all, we will restore order. We will make things right again. And so then someone asks them about Magog, and then Superman and the rest of the Justice League start to leave. And then before he rescue, and this is actually before he goes to assemble the League, because the first person he goes to try to be a part of the League is Batman. And then once he goes to Wayne Manor, everything in Wayne Manor is destroyed. Everything is so much of a wreck. And so then he goes down to the grandfather clock, which is the gateway to hide in his hideout to the Batcave. And Superman comes down to see if he's there, and he does find him. And we see Bruce in this exoskeleton suit that he has to wear because Two-Face and Bane teamed up and they found out who Batman is, and Bane broke his back again, and Two-Face is just they both mauled the entirety of Wayne Manor. And so then Superman, he asks if he wants to be a part of the League, and Batman is a bit weary on this, is like, do I even want to? Like, are you sure? So then he sees what Batman is doing with creating a police state with all the mechs that he's created into doing this in spite of his own condition, in terms of his condition, in spite of wearing an exoskeleton suit that he can walk around in due to his injuries. And then suddenly we see three other people in the Batcave that Batman is with. And those three turn out to be Oliver Queen, Dinah, and Ted Kord. So the original Blue Beetle, Black Canary, and Green Arrow, respectively. And so then Superman, everyone else and then we says Norman. We actually see a conversation between Norman McKay and the Spectre, and he asks, "Were they friends, Superman and Batman?" The way they bicker, because they were bickering with each other.
Right.
Um,
As they always do.
yeah, and it's hard. And he says it's
Do
hard.
us a favor. Lose a sense of humor. Do us a favor. Get one.
And so then the Spectre says, "Great minds do not always think alike. In their day, they were the truest representatives of their kind. One, the zenith of human fortitude and ambition. The other, the pinnacle of otherworldly power." So then this page we actually see those two panels. this panel, it's actually Superman's first appearance and Batman's first appearance. If I actually didn't point that out, yeah, it's Batman's first appearance on one side, and then Superman's first appearance on the others. When he's actually rescuing up a car, Superman, and then Batman carrying a criminal while he's swinging around. And so then we then see a lot more action going on with the heroes incapacitating all the anti-heroes, and he's gathered more members of the Justice League, and they're already saving people. But then suddenly, we then see that the Spectre has taken Norman to a building, and then we see a man kill a woman and says, "I said 2 sugars," and then he just kills her by crushing her throat, which then killed her. And it's actually Lex Luthor, or it's not actually Lex Luthor who killed the woman, but Lex Luthor comes in, and that woman that a man just killed, the woman, that's actually Vandal Savage, and he's already gathered his own Legion of Doom. So it's Lex Luthor himself, then Vandal Savage, and I think that's this is actually Lord Naga. Lord Naga's also there. Actually, it says it in the continents is actually what they are. Yeah. So yeah, it's Lex Luthor, Cobra, Lord Naga. I think that's Bane's dad, I think. Because if I can recall, Bane's dad was Snake Theme. I think that was Cobra. Is that right?
Cobra?
Yeah, wasn't he Bane's dad or no?
No.
No, okay then. Because I thought Bane's father was Snake Theme because his dad was a supervillain. So yeah, it's Lex Luthor, King, one of the former members of the Royal Flush Gang, Cobra, Vandal Savage, Selena Kyle, and Edward Nygma. So Catwoman and the Riddler are there, and there's one other Batman villain, and I think his name is, correct me if I'm wrong, is Ibnal Shufash. He's Ra's al Ghul's son. And we don't see Ra's al Ghul anywhere in this book because he's as good as dead. So he's taken over the League of Shadows. Or no, League of Shadows, that's Christopher Nolan films. League of Assassins, what I meant. And so then they heard about Superman has gathered every one of the heroes in the Justice League, so now they're about to fight back. So Lex Luthor's typical plan to overthrow Superman to prove that he's better than him. And suddenly a waiter comes in a red blazer and a gold belt, and then tell me if this face looks familiar.
Yeah.
Yep, it's
Yeah, I
Billy
was shocked.
Batson.
I was shocked to see him there.
Yep, it's Billy Batson, Captain Marvel.
Well, it was mentioned in the past. I was like, when he was granted the powers of Shazam, then whenever he transforms into a superhero persona, that's actually Billy all grown up.
Oh
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yep, it's actually Billy himself. He doesn't know. He doesn't use his powers yet. We will see how he got that way, why he's serving Lex Luthor, but not as of yet. But right now we see it's already in shock. It's just like, wait, it's Batson. What the hell's happened to him? And we will see a bit later. Because now we enter a pub, and then we see the heroes just messing around, but then suddenly an explosion happened, and it's actually Superman is here. Or not actually an explosion, but there's heat vision that someone destroyed all the bottles of alcohol, and it's actually from Superman's heat vision, and says party's over. And then he asks if any of you would be interested in joining the League. So then, and he said willingly, if any of you will join the League. And if he asks, feel free to head out. And suddenly, we then see two girls actually having a conversation with each other, and I think it's the first is Mari Grayson, the daughter of Dick Grayson and Starfire in Kingdom Come, and the other, I like to assume it's the daughter of Big Barda and Mr. Miracle, because she looks so much like Mr. Miracle, but yet she has Big Barda's design. If you see right here.
Yeah, I see it.
Yeah, I see it too.
Yeah. So then suddenly we see an arrow come in, and it is actually Green Arrow, and it says, So you heard the big blue who's pitch? Now for the democratic response, because Batman is forming his own league. So that if anyone wants to join Batman's side. And so then now this Emerald City that Green Lantern has built in space, that's actually their new headquarters. That's, in other words, their very own watchtower. And so then some of the other heroes that I've gathered to actually join the league, Superman's league, and so then they go to different parts of the city to try to apprehend the other anti-heroes, to apprehend them, and then suddenly Wonder Woman and Superman go to visit Atlantis to visit Aquaman and see if he's doing all right, and ask if they want to join. He wants to join his league, the league, and he says, well, he would likely offer. He'll be glad to offer that, but there are greater things that call to my importance. So he's still, while he would like to join, he's still trying to take care of his own kingdom, like better matters already come into his hand. And so then Wonder Woman asks, so then Wonder Woman would then just be pretty much in shock as to what happened, what his response is, saying, or no, I think it was Aquaman who actually said this, that you've been the champion to the ambassador, Amazon's champion for 100 years. Why don't you go back to Themyscira and actually try to see if any of them want to join there. But we then see Wonder Woman's expression is that she cannot go back because she said that she's failed her mission as an ambassador. And so then with her disappointment, she leaves. Superman and Wonder Woman, they both leave Atlantis. And so then Superman and Wonder Woman have a conversation with each other, and it's beginning to develop a bit more of a romance, a little bit, because she almost kissed Superman, but then suddenly it's interrupted by Wonder Girl and Roy Harper, who's looking a lot more like Green Arrow, and they actually heard news about Magog, and he is actually in Kansas. We see Magog in Kansas. He's already lifting up a building, and then it says, gently, and then it starts collapsing on itself, and then he destroys it. It's like, God damn it! And then suddenly,
dairy berries.
So then suddenly, Superman and the League come in and says, "What are you doing back in Kansas?" And then Magog, he asks, like, "Well, look who decided to show up now." So then he's always constantly mocking him and says, then Superman just says, "I'm not afraid of you, Magog." So then suddenly, then he insults him back, says, "Why don't you get out of town?" "Oh wait, you already did that." And then he says, "You know it's your fault that you left, that all this had happened." "My fault?" And now we see the backstory as to why Superman left. And it's long ago that the Joker has killed everybody in the Daily Planet. How? He flooded the entire area with his toxin. Everybody's dead. Perry White, Jimmy Olsen, and yes, Lois Lane. She's dead. Everyone in the Daily Planet is dead. And so then Superman then takes the Joker to the police, and just when he's about to be taken in, Magog comes out of nowhere, and he actually uses his staff. It's actually an energy staff, and actually blasts the Joker right in the chest, and finally kills the Joker. So then it answers the question that, okay,
Yeah.
yes. So yes, why couldn't Batman or Superman just kill the Joker right on the spot? Like, Magog finally did it. He finally killed this exact villain, this psychopath who we wanted to see dead. And then apparently Superman nor Batman wanted to do that, but Magog finally did it. Why couldn't they do that? And this is the answer as to why. People, because of what I said, that people's reaction is like, okay, Magog's finally killed the Joker. So now people decided to now look up to Magog as doing this. So now that the Joker's finally gone, they won't have to put up with his terror ever again. But then Superman says, no, this is wrong. What he did was wrong. Because what he did wasn't heroic. That was more like vengeance, rather. Okay, so now he has that opportunity to finally kill the Joker. It's just like, then if you're not going to do it, then I will. So now I finally did it. So now there's already much more of like more of a court to hold up this as to who should be the new protector of Metropolis, and everyone voted Magog, and Superman comes to a shock. It's just like, oh my god, this isn't the Metropolis I know anymore. And so then he leaves, and that's why he's been gone. And so now Magog says, now that you're back, now I got a piece of you. You're right where I want you. And then everyone is about to come in to try to help Superman out in the fight in case if he does anything stupid. But Wonder Woman tries to back them off and saying he's got this. And then Magog says, look around you. Look, this is what I represent. Like he's already much more just the destroyed house that he already destroyed. This is saying that's what he represents. And then Superman says with a mocking smirk, says, you must be proud. Proud? Proud? God damn you! And then he tries to shoot him with the laser, and everyone is in shock saying, oh my god, is he okay? And of course he's alright. He just only burned his cape. And then Magog then suddenly just collapses down to the ground and saying, now he's blaming a lot of things onto Superman, saying it's your fault that the world is like this, that because you left, it's your fault, and now everything about it is already destroyed. And now he's already blaming himself. Like, he's already taken on the responsibility, like, it is on him. Like, the ghosts that haunt him, because of the destruction in Kansas after, pretty much equivalent to a nuke set off after Parasite has been killed, he's already now taken the responsibility on himself. And later, Superman then goes to Apokolips to seeing what's happening there, if anyone there wants to join the League. And it's here he meets Orion, Darkseid's son, because Darkseid is dead. So then it's taken over by his son, Orion. And he is looking a lot more like his father. And so then he's asking what happened here. So then it's just saying, well, even though as much as Apokolips, I try to give people hope, as much as my time in the League has meant something, Apokolips is still not much more akin to something like this. Like of what I was trying to give when trying to give people hope with back in the old days when I was fighting along with you in the Justice League. And so then he asks if you want to join the League because a war's coming. And then he says, kindly declines the offer, but then he also says it isn't my help that you need. And then he goes to New Genesis, and we actually do meet Big Barda and Mr. Miracle. They're the new rulers of excuse me. They're the new rulers of New Genesis because Allfather's dead. He's dead too. And so then, now that Superman's here, he asks if any one of them want to join the Justice League because there's a war coming. We best be prepared. And so then they try to activate. Suddenly, Mr. Miracle activates the device, but then suddenly it creates a boom tube, which it reveals it is actually, I was actually right. This is actually this panel here. This character here, this girl, it is actually Mr. Miracle and Big Barda's daughter that we actually see that's coming through the boom tube. And so then now the League has all been gathered, and suddenly we cut back to LexCorp, and we see Batman, Green Arrow, Black Canary, and Ted Kord, Blue Beetle, meeting with Lex Luthor, and they're actually forming an allegiance. And now we begin Chapter 3, Up in the Sky. And now, it is here we now begin this page. This thing here. And he cries with a loud voice, as when a lion roareth. And when he cried, 7 thunders uttered their voices. And in the 7 thunders, it's this image of Captain Marvel in the clouds. And then so now Norman and the Spectre see this vision, or actually see this prison that's actually holding all the antiheroes that they've gathered up, and it looks eerily similar to the Legion of Doom headquarters from the Super Friends cartoon. And so then, as he sees all of this, we then see more anti-heroes that are just gathered around. And oh yeah, there's actually 2 people on the top of this panel too. They kind of look like Columbia and Riff Raff from the Rocky Horror Picture Show if you look here. And then suddenly there's a big holograph. Oh yeah, we also do see Magog in his cell from the prison that they're holding all the anti-heroes.
Right.
And then suddenly we see a giant Superman suddenly become a giant, and it's actually a hologram of Superman, and they're asking for their patience, and actually, if you want to be heroes, actually be them, and actually defend the defenseless. And it's that simple. And in this world, there is right and wrong. And so then one of them, and then they're just all mocking him and saying, "Oh, why don't you buzz off?" And so then they try to shut off the hologram, and then it says, "Why don't you just shut up?" And then says, "This is just nothing but a stupid hologram. Sorry you feel that way." That's what Superman says when he comes in. They just look up and they say, "Oh, great." And it's Superman and everybody in the Justice League. And they just try to apprehend all of them. And so we then go back to LexCorp, and then we see, or no, not back to LexCorp. We then see a bunch of the other Guardians watching over this universe. Wait, no, Allfather's not dead. That's actually Allfather. Okay, right there. Because I thought he was actually dead along with Darkseid. He's right there. Because we actually see the people that are watching over this world are the Phantom Stranger, Allfather, one of the Guardians of Oa, one of the Guardians, and the Spectre is one of them too, because of course he is. and one of them is Shazam, the wizard who granted Batson his powers in order to become Captain Marvel. And so
Exactly.
now he asks, please, I love him like a son. Please let us save him. But they can't, because their job is to watch over all of this. They can't do nothing to intervene about all of this. So they're basically almost acting like the Watchers from the Marvel Universe, because that's their job. They're just watching over the Earth. And so then the Spectre comes in and he actually has a meeting with them, leaving Norman McKay behind all of this. But suddenly, he has an encounter with a skeleton dressed in red torn clothes and a red collar, and it's actually Deadman.
Oh yeah.
And then he's already having a conversation with him, and is saying, who are these? He's asked, who are these guys? And saying, oh, those are just the Watchers of our world. And then before they suddenly start to leave, the Spectre, and before he actually just catches him in a conversation, Deadman just leaves the conversation, and then the Spectre then turns around, or Norman looks up at the Spectre, and then the Spectre just tries to turn around and see if there is anything there, like what was he even talking to. Then we go back to the Watchtower, and then we see Superman and Wonder Woman once again sharing a moment with each other. They're just already having a conversation that he asks, how did you fail as Amazon's ambassador? And he's saying, and then she says, mainly because I've become too attached to this place. Like, so attached to this place. Like, I failed as an ambassador. Like, this was supposed to be my job there. That was the whole reason why I was sent there, is to be the ambassador. But I became too attached to this place. I have become so much more attached to this. And so then, suddenly, Wonder Woman suddenly leaves Superman into the conversation. As now suddenly tension starts growing between the two, as there's already going to be disagreements. And then suddenly we cut back to LexCorp, and then we see Batson. We now see Billy Batson as the how and why he's actually serving Lex Luthor. It's because he's going through so much psychological torture and brainwashing to get up to that point from Lex Luthor, by putting these mind control worms in his ear, by showing him images of the giant robots, and then he's actually shown causing chaos in a city that he's defending, and he's actually being shot through with the laser, and it's this horrifying image that he's saying, this is like, oh my god. Like, he's just already seeing all this, like, Clockwork Orange style, just like being brainwashed into all of this. And so now we cut back to Lex Luthor now having a conversation with Bruce into giving him the technology he needs for the mechs that he has to give him improvements. And so once all this then comes into play, it's actually they're trying to elaborate a plan onto how to get Superman into all of this. And so then suddenly elsewhere, back when Luthor and the rest of the other Legion of Doom is not looking, we then see the Martian Manhunter, and he feels a bit shaken by all this. And then Batman just suddenly just like tries to get him to settle down. Like, Martian Manhunter's just looking for Bruce for guidance. Like, he's just already shaken. Like, he doesn't know what to do. So then he gives him tea and tells him to why don't you just go home and settle down. And so now we then cut back to the Watchtower, Superman is looking. Superman is looking above the earth, and they're already giving new status on the prison, the Gulag. That's what it's called. That's the prison they're holding the anti-heroes in, or the new breed, as what they're called here, the new breed of heroes.
Hmm.
And then suddenly, Flash of all people, Wally, he actually sees the Spectre and Norman, and so then Alex Ross just draws, because he's one with the Speed Force, Wally in this story. He then suddenly sees spirits back there. That's even happening behind the scenes. So then he pulls Norman McKay out of the spirit realm and into reality there. And then they ask, Power Girl attacks him and says, saying, "Who are you? Are you an intruder?" And then Superman stops her, saying, "No." Well, you might want to explain yourself. And so then he's trying to be brief on all of this, is saying, he's trying to reverb an entire verse from the Bible and saying Superman, but then Superman doesn't really believe him, saying we have everything under control. And then, but suddenly Dick Grayson is actually starting up as this holy god. The Gulag, there's already a riot going on in the prison. Everything starts going out of control. And now, this time, Wonder Woman's now developing a plan into developing brute force that they have to try to get them back into their cells, or just try to surrender themselves. And Superman is saying, "No, we can't do this. This is what we've been fighting for." So then there's already a disagreement between Wonder Woman and Superman. Is that now Wonder Woman is she's becoming more so of a warrior, as we're already seeing now. And now we cut back to, or no, not yet. We then see Wonder Woman and Superman go to they actually go to it's supposed to be I believe it's supposed to be the Pentagon, or wait, no, it's not the Pentagon. They're going to government officials, and they're asking about the Gulag, because they actually had the rights to actually try to build this thing in order to apprehend them. And they admit they're trying to tell them there's some danger that's going on, and they're trying to find some way to teach them. But then they said, no, I don't think there's anything we can do about this, because there's already writing going on. Oh, we actually got a guest here. It's Leia Plus Size, another one of our colleagues from the UN Spacey. How you doing, Leia?
Hey there, Leia. Good to see you.
Hey, Dom. Hello, Final. Hey, Wolf. Sorry I'm late. I had a very busy day today, so I just read the scheduling for today. Are you done? Or
no, not yet. We're about halfway through the story.
She's roboting.
Am I still roboting?
Better. You're next.
Bit better.
Okay. Yeah, we had a very stormy week this week. I've got lousy Wi-Fi. So I'm sorry, my Wi-Fi. I'm gonna work on this Wi-Fi. But am I roboting now?
Again,
you just did. And
okay.
in the meantime,
I'm sorry, I didn't interrupt you. If you're still going on, go ahead. I'll see if I can fix this.
It's okay. I mean, is it better now?
How do I sound?
Clear as crystal.
Okay. All right. All right. I had to dig a little bit.
All right. Here we go. All right. Back to the story. We then cut back to. Okay. So as soon as there already riots going on in the prison, they don't think it's out of their control. So now they have to come up with this themselves. And so now Wonder Woman and Superman leave. Then we cut back to LexCorp, and we see that there's Batman's entire league that's all been gathered here at LexCorp. And then suddenly, Superman, or no, not Superman. He's not there yet. Luthor tries to convince Captain Marvel, about all this and just saying that everything's gonna be okay by trying to put another mind control worm in his ear. But Batman, before he could do it, Batman just socks him in the face before he actually could. Or no, he doesn't sock Luthor in the face. He socks Batson in the face before he could do that. And then he says, "Hello, Billy." And then everyone else was in shock as to who that is, which is actually kind of funny when I think about it because, okay, they know this guy for some time, and yet suddenly they're already being afraid of him. Leia will be back. But suddenly now they're in shock to figure out. Batman already figured out who he already is because he knows his face out of everybody here. And then everyone else says, more notably, Green Arrow says, "Are you kidding me? This guy that we've been living in fear for some time of is actually Billy Batson." And then suddenly Luthor was shocked at Bruce himself and is saying, "You double crossed me." And then Bruce says, "I learned it from you." And then the League suddenly attacks when the moment was actually right. So then they round up all the Legion of Doom members, and then Batson tries to apprehend Batson as to try to convince him to join his league. And so now Luthor tries running away, but then suddenly the bat robots that he created, they cornered Luthor and they rounded him up, and then so then in the meantime, Bruce is trying to find Batson to try to convince him to join the league, to try to get him back to his senses. Oh, Leia's back. There we go. All right.
Neat.
All right.
Okay. I didn't mean to interrupt. Keep going. I'm sorry. I was just fixing my
It's
Wi-Fi.
okay.
Keep going.
Okay. So now, Batson, he tries to remind Bruce as to who Batson really is. He tries to snap him out of his brainwashing, and suddenly, Batson crashes into he crashes into this jar full of the mind control slugs that Luthor keeps putting into his ear, and then Batson starts freaking out and then says Shazam, and then lightning strikes, and then Batman sees this, he's like, "Oh crap."
Oh no.
Because already this is not much of a good sign. But then suddenly, there's already a cloud's already there, but he's actually gone. We don't even know where he is yet, but we already know it's bad news. And so now Wonder Woman, back at the Watchtower, Wonder Woman's getting prepared for war because there's a war going on between heroes, and then Superman asks, and yet another Superman asks, is like, "What are you trying to do now?" I'm trying to fulfill the promise that I am fulfilling a promise that I'm trying to finish what I started. So then suddenly, so she's preparing for war, and then suddenly it's another bickering argument between Superman and Wonder Woman about their means of Superman. He's trying to convince her of what they were trying to originally do this all for, but then Wonder Woman is just already embracing war. It's this kill or be killed mentality. And so suddenly there's a call that's interrupted by Alan Scott. And suddenly there's already a riot going on in the prison. The prisoners are breaking out. They're already attacking each other. They're trying to apprehend the situation that's going on, but then gets cut out. And then Wonder Woman just slams the table out of anger. And Superman just looks down in disappointment, almost like he's about to shed a tear, like they've just lost a friend. And now Superman then asks, or no, he actually says, or no, Wonder Woman says, "So worlds finally turned completely topsy-turvy. How do we handle this?" "I don't know." "Then I do. We're going to confront the prisoners and give them an ultimatum. They must surrender, and if they refuse, then it's war. But you can't have a war without people dying." And then Wonder Woman looks at Superman with that, and then they just share just like an aggressive kiss to that. And it even says that it's like it's almost like it's almost like nails on a chalkboard try to do this, like, or no, a marble scraping steel, almost like that, because she's still that's basically it's just as a final farewell, but she's still Torrance Bitter turned Superman. And so now the League leaves the Watchtower to try to prepare for war against them, against the prisoners, the new breed of heroes at the prison. And then Superman, out of anger, now he doesn't know what to do. He leaves the Watchtower, he crashes through, and then for some reason destroys a satellite right here. And then he goes back to the Batcave. He crashes down back in the Batcave, asking for help
That's
with
what
Batman.
gives Snyder this. That was kind of in line with Superman's character. He likes to wreck property.
And so then he then asks Batman, that I need your help because things are looking bad on my end. I've started losing everyone. And then Batman says, I'm starting to lose everyone too because they're already going there too. And he also asks him, because your guess is as good as mine. We're both lost in this. Not to mention, even worse, that Batson is already running about and he's about to go there in the prison too. And Superman's like, wait, Batson at the prison? Oh shit, that means that can't be good. So now he then leaves the Batcave to see if he's actually there yet. And then meanwhile, when that's happening, Wonder Woman gives the ultimatum to the warning. Says, attention, this will be your only warning. Abandon your activities and surrender or face the consequences. And so then now a war begins to pursue, and now it's a war against the heroes. And then Superman begins to go to the prison and see if Bass is still there and tries to break up a fight. But suddenly, now we finally see Billy Batson full front.
That was a very imposing scene right there.
Exactly,
Just him standing like that in heroic fashion.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm.
Him in heroic fashion and just imposing. It's scary that this.
Yeah.
It's scary period just to see any superhero that just come about and be evil.
Yeah, just like that, yeah. And now we begin chapter 4, the never-ending battle. And then it says, in this page here, another verse in the Bible with this. There were voices and thunderings and lightnings and earthquakes. This was my dream. And so now, we have this huge 2-page of the entire heroes going against each other. Superman going against Batson. Everything else is going to chaos. The Justice League and Batman's League going against each other, as well as the new breed of heroes going against each other. And then Norman McKay and the Spectre are witnessing all of this. And Norman is saying, like, stop, what are you doing? We got to do something about this.
Can't do
And
nothing but watch.
yeah, they can't do a thing about this. They're just watching this whole fight happen. And then Superman, while this is happening, Superman is just getting his ass kicked by Batson.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, when this is happening, the government is actually seeing all this happening and is saying, like, okay, this is already going out of control, because if this battle is going to be going on forever, that means it's even going to be the end of humanity, and the heroes are just going to be the ones running around the city. And so then they have to think of something about this. And oh yeah, there's also a pilot there in this panel. He has Hawkman's logo on his jacket. You can't actually see it, but if you look,
Nice.
yeah, if you look closely, it's Hawkman's logo on his jacket. And so now they're trying to figure out what are they going to do now? So then they decide, okay, in order to do this, we gotta get rid of them now, because it's either us or them. So now they're just gonna launch a nuke. And so now, then he salutes, may God bless us all. And if that ever happens, if that'll actually ever work, because they don't know if it will. so they just use it as a last resort. And so now the fight's still going on, and then Batman comes in. This page of Batman, it looks so freaking awesome.
Yep.
Oh,
And this is already the most night-looking Batman I've ever seen, because now he also has a faceplate on. Now that actually like covers up his mouth like it's already like a straight down faceplate from of an actual the most night-looking Batman's ever been. And then Batman's already fighting Wonder Woman, and Batman, and they're both mocking each other that Batman about how Batman has, even though he's sworn that promise to his parents that he will protect Gotham, but he's turned it into a police state. And then Wonder Woman failing her mission as an ambassador. But suddenly, as the fight is being taken into the skies, suddenly they see the 3 planes and they're going to be launching a nuke. And so then,
Oh boy.
but then we cut back to the fight between Superman and Batson. And then Batson is just going Shazam. And then the thunder then strikes down on Superman. And then he keeps doing it like Shazam. Another strike happens.
Shazam!
Yep.
Shazam!
And then Wonder Woman and Batman decide to settle their differences now and try to destroy that because they know they're going to be launching a nuke. So now they try to destroy the planes as much as possible and try to get the pilots out to safety. But suddenly they fail on one and they're already dropping the nuke that fell. Norman McKay's shocked expression is just like, no. And now finally we cut back to Superman and Batson's one final fight. And before Batson could say Shazam, Superman just grabs Batson by the face, pulls him to
That's enough of that, kid.
right back where the strike is. He pulls him there, and then he goes back to Batson, into saying this. You could see. Listen to me, Billy. Listen harder than you have ever had before. Look around us. Look at what we have. Look at what we've come to. There's a bomb falling, because he hears the bomb falling. There's a bomb falling. Either it kills us, or we run rampant across the globe. Because even then, he knows this is a situation far beyond his control. And I can still stop the bomb, Bill. That much I'm sure of. But what I don't know is whether I should be allowed to. In that decision, I am not a man. But you, Billy, you're both. More than anyone who ever existed, you know what it's like to live in both worlds. Only you can weigh their worth equally. Fight the brainwashing, Billy. You can let me go. Or with a word, you can stop me. You do understand the choice that can be made by you alone. Then decide. Decide the world. Then Batson looks up, Superman flies up, and then Batson then says Shazam under his breath. Then he goes back to being Captain Marvel. Yeah, Captain Marvel says Shazam, and then goes back to being Captain Marvel, and then he takes Superman down, and now he actually goes up to the nuke and then says Shazam, and it doesn't actually hit him, it hits the nuke to try to go it and tries to hit it to try to destroy the thing before it hits the ground. Then he says it numerous times, and then people are looking up and saying, "Oh God!" And then suddenly, boom, the nuke detonates. Norman and the Spectre are surrounded in the fog, and then we then see Superman just screaming into the sky that now, because everybody is dead. Everybody.
Yeah, that was a shocking scene.
Right?
Mm-hmm. And so now Superman.
I still remember that image.
Mm-hmm.
I'm struggling when I remember reading that.
Mm-hmm. And so, was someone about to say something?
Oh, I was just going to say, is that Alex Ross's artwork?
Absolutely.
Oh, it's brilliant.
And so now Superman has seen what has happened to. He couldn't even do anything about it because he lost Bassett. He lost Batson, and everyone else in his league, either in his league or in Batman's league, are all dead because the nuke has now detonated, and now Superman has had enough, and now he just goes off the rails, and now we see this intimidating image that now Superman now has red eyes, and that now he's vengeful, now he's pissed off because like you took everything from me, now I'm going to kill you. But there are a few survivors, thanks to Alan Scott's Green Lantern, the Alan Scott, that there are some survivors right here.
Right.
And then he wishes Norman McKay farewell, but before he could leave, Norman says, "Farewell? Farewell? You think you brought me all the way just to watch people die? Think again. You want to confront evil? Then get us the hell to the UN now. You saw Superman. You saw his anger. You saw an anger that could twist steel. If what happens next happens, and the only way it can, and you let it, that's evil. Got it?" And so now he's saying that, okay, no, this is not goodbye. This is not going to be the end of humanity. I got to do something about this. Not this. I know where he's going. You got to take me there now before he kills everybody. And so now Superman is just like taking the whole thing and he's trying to crumble it all down to the ground because of how they launched the nuke at the UN. And then the Spectre takes him there, and then he brings him into the reality and tries to tell Clark, "Stop." No, he says, "Clark, don't. You blame yourself for Captain Marvel, for Magog and Kansas, for 10 years that ended today. Yes, you're angry in that. Yes, you're angry, but in that anger, you're forgetting once more what humans feel. They won't forgive you for this, Clark." And so then he also says, "Forgive yourself," and then Clark then just settles down, and then he asks, "Who are you?" And it's, "Who are you? Why are you here?" "To bear witness. Listen to me, Clark. Of all things you could do, all your powers, the greatest has always been your instinctive knowledge of right and wrong. It was a gift of your own humanity. You never had to question your choices. Any situation, any crisis, you knew what to do. But the minute you made the super more important than the man, the day you decided to turn your back on mankind, that completely cost you your instinct. That took your judgment away. Take it back. If you want redemption, Clark, it lies in the very next decision you make. Make it as a man. Make it right." And then we see a few of the survivors, and then Superman is shocked to see them actually have survived. And then they explain that Green Lantern has already helped a lot of them, not just some of the League members, so of course him, Flash, Batman, Wonder Woman, including some of the new breed of heroes. And there are some that have survived. We do see a bit later. And then Diana asks, "What now?" And then Superman says in this speech, "Now we put things right. Years ago, I let those I swore to protect drive me away. We all did. And that was the day all of this began." And then someone says, "We saw you as gods, as we saw ourselves." And then he responds, "As we saw ourselves. And we were both wrong. But I no longer care about the mistakes of yesterday. I care about coping with tomorrow together. The problems we face still exist. We're not going to solve them for you. We are going to solve them with you, not by ruling above you, but by living among you. We will no longer impose our power on humanity. We will earn your trust, using the wisdom of one man left as his legacy. I asked him to choose between humans and superhumans, but he alone knew that was a false division and made the only choice that ever truly matters. He chose life. And then so that choice that he made is actually it's the tattered cape of Billy Batson in his Captain Marvel cape. And then later they actually used that as a flag at the UN as a flag to remember from the superheroes. And now things are now patching up. Wayne Manor has now become a hospital now for the people who have survived during the debris, especially during all this that has happened. And then some of them, the Legion of Doom, are already starting to help out with the hospital, and some of them are actually looking up to a new life, such as Catwoman and the Riddler, especially. Correct me if I'm saying his name wrong. Ibn al-Shufash, Ra's al Ghul's son. He sees a dead person, or he sees a person die right in front of him, and then just when he's about to break into tears, Bruce then comforts him and saying, "It's okay." And then some of them that actually have this, that have a little special care, because they have a collar around the neck that to make sure they're not like go off the rails, like they're actually planning something. And one of them is Lex Luthor, and then Batman then mocks him and says, "Shazam!" Then Luthor says, "Shut up." And then Dick Grayson, he's actually in one of the hospital beds, and then Bruce goes to visit him, and then they actually make up because they had some disagreements with each other. But then, thankfully, the two made up, and then all the while he was actually visited by his daughter Mari Grayson. Wonder Woman then goes back to Themyscira, and she's actually made up, and she actually got her birthright back. And then we see the anti-heroes. They're actually turning over on a new life. They're actually witnessing the events that are happening now. Alan Scott's now part of the UN. And then Clark sets up this grave goes to Kansas, and he sets up a gravesite for the other heroes who have actually died during all of this. And then Diana comes in and gives Clark a gift, and it's actually a wooden box, and that wooden box contains inside is his glasses. And once she actually gives him the glasses, the two actually do share a kiss, and then Wonder Woman then says, "Take care." Yeah, the two of them say, "Take care." And so now, with all this now wrapping up, they're now witnessing that everything's now coming together. And then Norman McKay says, "All the sins have been exposed, Spectre. Tell me in the end, who do you punish? Who is responsible for what has happened? No one. No one need suffer any further for the tragedies we have witnessed, Norman. Do you not mock me?" "I'm not. I'm merely wondering. When you first appeared before me, you said that you needed a human soul to be your anchor, and yet you yourself were once an ordinary man. Tell me, what would his perspective have been?" "An excellent one." And the Spectre takes off his hood, and it's actually Jim Corrigan, the default host of the Spectre. Right here. And so then the Spectre takes him back to the church that he was, and then he wishes Norman McKay farewell. And so then, sometime later, he's then preaching by saying a verse from the Bible, and then Jim Corrigan is actually there to witness all the events, all that. And then he gives his amen, And now we fast forward a year later, we then see Diana and Clark at Planet Krypton because they're going to tell the news to Bruce, who then comes in. And then the two of them, they actually order their drinks, they then order their food. They look at all this as saying, well, ain't that a bit nice? And then Bruce then goes like, don't you think it's a bit much? Because of all this that's superhero themed. And then, so now Clark and Diana were about to reveal the news to Bruce, and then out of the gate, Bruce already knew it. So says, let me guess, Diana, you're pregnant. And then they shocked and just figured out how they actually found out, because of course you would. And so then, but then they also gave him other news on this, is that now they're actually going to be pregnant, and they're Superman and Wonder Woman are actually having a child. They ask Bruce to be their godfather. Actually, Superman tells him to be the godfather of their own child. And then Bruce is like, why do you want me to be the godfather? I don't have a pretty good track record with kids, so why do you want me to do it? Then Clark says, because you're my best friend. And then the two embrace. And so then, after all that, after they order their food, they then...
Up there, and then after God.
Yep. And so then, and once they were leaving, they do see Norman McKay and Jim Corrigan at Planet Krypton there. And then then Jim's just like, this is the Spectre platter? Hey, it's at least nice for you to get some recognition. And then the two, we're not really sure and whether or not it's actually a daughter or a son. But yet the two actually leave, and it's actually a brighter future. And what a story this was.
Bravo. Yeah. Kingdom Come, I think, has become a classic in the DC comic book universe.
Absolutely, it has.
I've heard many people. First of all, I love Alex Ross's artwork. I think he is the Picasso or whatever famous artist you want to name him after of the comic book world.
He's the Norman Rockwell style of painting.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's more akin to Norman Rockwell, because like both of them are inspired by Americana.
Mm-hmm.
I would agree. Picasso was just the first painter that came to my head, to be honest about that. But you guys picked the right
you
analogy.
cannot deny. Just every time I look at Alex Ross's artwork, it is so good. You cannot help but admire Alex Ross's art. It is so amazing.
It is, and it's like you said. I'm just paraphrasing what you both said. He captures, Dominic, I think you said Americana, or that style, and it's perfect for the DC characters, because most of them are Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern are part of our American mythology. So he's perfect for doing that, and it's and he captures the godlike quality of these characters because they are godlike.
Yeah,
and
yet they're still human.
And that's been the whole thing about DC Comics, is that in spite of a lot of their abilities, whether it's technology like alien technology, the case of Green Lantern, or straight up technology like the case of how Batman would use them, or futuristic technology such as Booster Gold and Blue Beetle and Booster Gold, or any powers use of magic that essentially makes them gods, they're human.
You're right. And yeah, absolutely. And this one, again, when I first heard about it, I was reluctant to read it, because then I'm an old sap. I'm an old school girl. I'm a fogey for stogie. Call me what you want. I don't like reading about heroes fighting heroes. That's not the reason why I look to my comic book characters. I don't look to them to fight each other. I want them to
it can put you off at one moment, but this is more so, it's not doing it just more so as like to cash in on that. This is more so because this entire I've already mentioned earlier before that this entire comic is pretty much
it's a rebuttal.
yeah, it's a reconstruction of superhero comics, and it's basically as a commentary of superhero comics in the 90s, because Kingdom Come deals with on how the new generation of heroes is screwing up everything, because of how this new breed is just being more akin to being villains, as they are bullies, they're irresponsible, they don't hold anything else accountable,
You can
they're
almost say
just
it's a deconstruction of anti-heroes.
oh, pretty much.
or more. I want to say deconstruction is more of a commentary
Yes,
of the rise of antiheroes, because it's not really a deconstruction,
Social
because
commentary, yes.
yeah, because even with the antiheroes as seen in the ending of Kingdom Come, kind of like they can become more heroic.
yeah, because the whole thing, what I think is the whole message of the story is that no matter if you're much much more um no matter if you're pretty much like vengeful, much more like thrill seekers, or trying to do exactly what's right, either way we're human.
And no matter what stripe, and no matter what stripe of heroics you're operating in, like the goal remains the same as a hero only follows like its four tenets.
Yes, and that's basically Kingdom Come's message about all of this.
Well,
And
as you
also the game, actually the game, getting back to what you mentioned prior to the reading final about like how Kingdom Come came to be. Well, well to make well to enlighten everybody. When artist and writer Alex Ross was working on
Mm-hmm.
After it was published in 1994, he decided to create a similar magnum opus about characters from DC Comics. He wrote a 40-page handwritten outline of what would become Kingdom Come, and pitched the idea to James Robinson as a project similar in scope to Watchmen and Alan Moore's lost work Twilight of the Superheroes. Uh, Ultimately, Ross teamed up with Mark Waid, who was recommended by DC editors due to his strong familiarity with the history of DC superheroes.
That's why, yeah.
Yeah, so even though as everyone knows, that Mark Waid, he's an a hole. He does know how to write comic book superheroes as they are, whether it's Marvel or DC. Because
Mm-hmm.
previous previous like illustrators and writers for sequential arts, like they started out as fans first before graduating into the big leagues as an illustrator, a writer, or even an editor.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say, I didn't want to interrupt Dom as he gave us the history of this making. That I was jumping back to a few comments what you guys said about human. Yes, that is a great thing about this story. I think it shows the humanity that humans have, that it's flawed, but it's still there.
Mm-hmm.
It's still part of humanity, and that it's been forgotten, that these days, that these are still, they have these powers, they are godlike, but their humanity and why they do what they do is still very much there. Even if it makes mistakes, they make mistakes, they're not perfect. As I said, they're not imperfect, but it shows that is it again, like Professor Geek says, it's what we should aspire to be.
Yeah.
And that's a whole purpose to me of what I think the existence of these stories are. It's to inspire us to be the best that we can be, despite the flaws that we may have. And that is part of the human race, basically. That's mankind.
Yeah.
Not to mention like after Kingdom Come, kind of like works, other works of fiction, like it shows like who, what makes a hero, and who they, and what it truly means to be one.
Yeah.
Because like right now in this current zeitgeist, as like these modern artists, and I use that term loosely, like they don't know what truly defines a hero.
Yeah.
Oh, I totally agree with Dominic. That's why everything
Hold
is
on, I'll be right back.
okay.
That's a first.
Oh, Wolf. I was going to tell Dominic that that is why everything is dog crap right now. They don't know. They don't really. They don't know. Well, particularly because activists are. They don't know what makes a hero. They have no concept. They think, oh, you just like this hero because he or she is a certain skin color. Oh, you just like this hero, or he or she is male or female. Oh, you just like this hero. No, no, they don't look at what's inside the hero that makes it work. That's what it is. And that's why everything is failing right now. Because I was going to say, again, there's the script for a movie for DC right there. It's right there in front of them with this. And you could do a series of movies that maybe lead up to this. And as long as you keep the concept of the story there. But they're dumb brained it. They're on the dummy side. The brain has gone into to a mixer and it's mush, and they absolutely don't get it. But if they had adapted this story, did they announce they were going to do this story? Because I'm afraid they won't get the point of it. Did Warner Brothers, DC and Warner Brothers announce they were going to do this as a
Doubtful.
live action film? Yeah.
No.
Okay. They shouldn't. They shouldn't, because they're going to take away the wrong meaning of this story. That's why I'm glad they're not. Even though it'd be a good idea, it would help them. I still say that maybe
Well,
it's a
it's
good
too
thing that they
soon to
don't.
even
Well,
consider
for the
doing that
time,
too.
well, for the time being, like it will need to be put on hold until our cultural landscape goes back to the middle.
Yeah,
That,
I
but
That
at the
well,
same time, they need to
that
have
is,
a solid foundation of what they want to do first.
and also gave also because people are finally waking up to this
Hi, I'm
nonsense.
back. Sorry.
Nonsense like that's
Cool.
well, long time fans like now more than ever like they need we need to get back into gatekeeping the genres and works of fiction that we grew up on.
Yeah, it's either, and it comes down to one of two choices. It's either we go back to the older stuff with fiction or with the things that we grew up with, whether it is heroes or to going back to playing older video games, or we just had to do it ourselves.
Well, the
Might as
things that we
well.
grew up, right. I totally agree. We do it ourselves, but the things we grew up with, those stories and themes have not changed. I always say music and styles change, but the stories don't change. So, for all of us, no matter what
Or
decade we were born in, and these are characters that have been around for a very long time. People forget Wonder Woman, Superman, Batman were made long before any of us were born.
Mm-hmm.
So, if we, like you said, I do agree, we would have to do the stories ourselves, but also remember what those stories meant to us and what they mean. Then that is possible. It can be done. But like you said, it's going to take probably other people to do that. But the main thing is you want to keep the theme and motif of those stories alive. That's what you have to remember. And that's not, of course, we're not seeing that right now. I was just telling Will Final that this could be a great story for Warner Brothers to do, but I'm glad they're not doing it, because they would totally not get the concept of what this story is about. To them, it's just going to be, wow, if we just have Shazam and Superman fight each other, that's going to be that's going to make us money. They would love that. There's
Yeah,
a big
it's the
shootout
same
and
deal when they
bang.
did after Man of Steel. Like, yeah, that did not perform well. So what are we gonna do in the Man of Steel sequel? Let's just put Batman in the sequel. And oh wait, Marvel's already gone off successfully with the DC with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We'll do that here. So this is gonna be the establishment of the DC Cinematic Universe. So let's put Batman in the sequel and let's put Wonder Woman in there. Let's get the Justice League reference in there. They're just already doing it all much at once.
Yeah, they're putting, because they don't understand what made something work. They believe that, oh, these geeks, these nerds, because they don't like us. Oh, these little nerds, they seem to like it when everybody's together. So, well, let's do what you just described and put it all in one film and sit back and wait for the money to come in. And it didn't happen. And they're sitting there scratching their heads like, wait a minute. What went wrong? We had
You don't treat your audience like fish.
everything.
no, no, you don't.
No, wear hockey pads.
I get that. I get that reference. So the execs the next morning, yeah, they wake up and they go, wait a minute, what went wrong? We why this does not work? That Civil War over there at MCU made gazillions of dollars. We did the same thing, but they didn't come, so they're scratching their heads,
Because you
stupefied.
didn't take your time.
Right, right.
Well, we almost had a proper cinematic adaptation of the DC universe with George Miller's Justice League movie, which after the end of its story, it actually acts as a gateway to standalone movies which reflects like after the events that occurred in Justice League. However, like even when that movie was close to completion, like Warner Bros. Decided to pull the plug.
Again, it shows their stupidity. They're idiots. They're idiots. They don't know what
Can't
makes
really
these
trust
stories
them with
work.
any other property these days because even if they do try to do it right, they still get it wrong. It's
Yeah,
strange.
But they also don't have a strong vetting process on who they're hiring for writers, directors, as well as actors and actresses.
What's
yeah,
also
This is
set against them on that front, though, you gotta really understand this too, is that some of the old veterans are now either dead or retired. Anybody who could possibly have done a good comic book movie in their time, but chooses not to, is either dead or retired, or just too busy doing their own thing.
yeah,
and there's all the instances where they're afraid of speaking the truth and wants instead like both like
Not
putting their
only
heads
that, they also
putting their
afraid
heads
of
like
the
firmly on
consequences.
the I'm saying putting their heads firmly on the ground and just like toe the line while keeping how they truly feel deep down, even though like it hurts them.
Here's another kicker too that we also tend to forget. Some of these directors don't want to stake their reputation on making a comic book movie.
Yes,
Nobody is a John Williams or not John Williams, Richard
Richard
Donner,
Donner.
Richard
Yeah.
Donner. Yeah,
who actually put his reputation and his career on the line for Superman.
You said two things that are very interesting. First of all, yes, directors don't want to bet their reputation. I absolutely agree with that. You know,
oh yeah, sure. That's totally a reasonable thing, but you do need to take risks.
yeah,
Hmm.
that's what they don't want to do.
No, it's what we're missing. Listen, like nowadays, like directors and writers, whether it's in screen, prose, or comic book writing, they they're afraid to take risks, and this
Yes,
also applies to video games and TV shows.
yeah, exactly. Because this is what I've been. This is the reason why I've been trying to write to Light and Darkness specifically to them in MeWe, to you guys in MeWe, just to see what you guys think.
Oh, yeah, yeah. What was I listening to? Oh my God, I've got to send it to you guys. There was an interview on YouTube from a comic book writer who's worked on a few Batman comic books. He did a Q&A about writing, and I'm going to have to send it to you final because I cannot remember everything word for word. But he was giving advice to up and coming writers, and he gave some good advice about writing. And one thing that he did say is don't be afraid to let someone don't be afraid to get your feelings hurt. And what
Right.
he meant by that was don't be afraid to let someone criticize your work. He said that when he was writing, he would always turn his writing first over to the board or the publisher, and he would ask them, well, what do you think? And then some of them didn't want to tell the truth because they said, well, you're a good guy, we don't hurt your feelings. But then he said, no, go ahead. I don't worry about my feelings. I can handle that. Tell me what you think. I need to know what is working and what is not working. That is what's more important to me than getting my feelings hurt. So it is, he said, it is good to don't be afraid to get your feelings hurt when someone is criticizing your work. If you left someone to look at it and review it, Don't be afraid of that, because he said out of that criticism, it made him make some changes, improve, or work on something he had never thought before.
Yeah. In fact, Professor Geek has even said
No.
this on Sunday office, no, not Sunday, Saturday office hours, where a lot of a lot of up and coming writers would only do writing just so they can get themselves a pat on the back, just because of how much they think it's a good idea. But writing takes a lot more than good ideas. It does take risks. It takes commitment. You gotta commit to it. Because all it takes is a leap of faith in order to do this. And
I
now I'm
agree.
not one to go in the writing industry for competition as much as something like that might actually sell, but that's not what I'm just here for. I just want to do it just so, like Stanley was already there for, I just wanted to do it just so I could tell stories.
In other words, it's art. It's under the philosophy of arts for art's sake. You're just doing it because you're passionate for the craft.
Yes.
And that's what we're not getting. That's Dom makes a very good point. Some writers are not writing for the craft. They're writing, they want some sort of accolade. They want some sort of, dare I say it, validation or whatever. That's what they're looking at. That's why a lot of stories are garbage, because they're not writing out of passion. They are writing out of, what will this get me? What
Yeah.
will this
Just
get
all for a
me?
paycheck, really.
Yes, yeah, that's what
That as well as having a reductive viewpoint on animation, novels, comic books, and so on. Because they only see them as a stepping stone for film or television.
Yeah.
that's increasing more and more. I'm hearing that's another thing that he talked about. Yeah, it's like they're writing. They're not writing a comic. They're writing a screenplay that should
Yeah.
be for a comic, and a comic and a screenplay are two very different mediums. So what you write for a screenplay, you cannot put in. You can't write for a comic as far as style
Yeah.
is concerned. You guys get me? Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Especially
Oh, I get you.
when you're making an adaptation from a play or a musical, not everything from the stage can work onto the theater screen. Like any movie, I actually suggested this idea to Wolf. What we might talk about on Wolf Commander Rambles by sometime in the future are movie musicals, specifically on some of them that are good, some of them pretty good film adaptations of musicals, and a lot of bad ones. And one
Hmm.
such example, two examples I could think of that come to my mind with successful movie musicals being the 86 film adaptation of Little Shop of Horrors. Was it 86?
Yeah, 86.
Right. And Tim Burton's film adaptation of Sweeney Todd, which was also approved by Steven Sondheim, who did the composing for the music of Sweeney Todd. And he actually said this best, because for the movie, in order for it to work on the stage, to work on the film, it's not a film that's about the stage show. It's a film that's based on the stage show. That's why a lot of the chorus lines from the musical are cut out from the film, because again, even though this is a movie, not much of a even though this is a musical, it is a movie.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. And then it can, another reason why I think that every last one of the live action Disney animated features don't work, because some animated films you just cannot translate into live action. I'm sorry, you just can't. You just can't translate them into live action. They work as animated films because during, people say, Disney's Renaissance in the 90s, they got a lot of Broadway writers and songwriters to put those animated films together.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why they work so well. But a lot of those now, the reason, again, all of them live action are not working because they're basing the films on the Disney movie. Instead of telling the story, they're trying to bring to life the Disney version of it. And I just think some of them just do not translate. They just don't translate into live action. On the other hand, it could be vice versa. Now, some movies that start off as musicals don't translate into Broadway. One example is Dirty Dancing. Dirty Dancing, very successful, movie, of course. I enjoyed it, but they tried to do a musical of it and it flopped
Mm.
because I said Dirty Dancing was written for the screen. It wasn't written for
Plays
Broadway.
can flop.
Hmm.
I
Yes,
wouldn't
yeah.
have guessed it.
Yeah, they tried to adapt it into a musical and it didn't it closed on Broadway because I don't think it could have been translated to a Broadway stage, like you said. It tried to, and they're doing a lot of that lately on Broadway. I don't know if anybody's aware of it, but they
Yeah.
keep announcing we're going to
On
adapt a movie. Oh
Yeah.
no! Oh wolf no!
Yeah. Because like they've like one movie they've done that they've actually done a musical of is out of all movies, American Psycho.
Mm,
They
Out of
don't.
Yeah, I heard
right.
about that.
Yeah,
out of all movies, and yet they even kept in some of the songs that were in the films, like the iconic scene of Huey Lewis in the News scene where he blasts that song up, then he kills Paul Allen by hacking him with
Hmm.
the axe.
It's hip to
Apparently,
be a square,
yeah,
so
that's
you hip
still
to
in
be
there.
a square.
No, hip
No,
to
it's
be
hip
square.
to B square, not hip to be a square.
Look, motherfuckers, I watch Sesame Street. Damn it!
wolf. Wolf. The song is. Oh,
And that's your only F bomb that you're saying.
on final show. Okay.
Dang
Wolf.
it! I can't help that Sesame Street's version is stuck in my head. That's all I know.
Yeah. So yeah, they kept in hip to be square, and that's entire dance
Personally, it's
number.
my I prefer that over the actual song.
And they kept it. It turned into an entire dance number, and yet it and then starts to slow down right at the very moment he just starts hacking them up with the axe, and for some reason, well, yeah, he probably put like the cloth over the chair, but yeah, he didn't bother putting on the newspapers all over the floor to cover up the
Hmm.
blood. But yeah,
Well,
he already
that's what
just
I
puts
heard.
up, even though he puts up the head, his decapitated head, when the fog starts to rise up, when he shows the blood spat, when it shows the blood splatters after he just starts hacking him.
Yeah, that didn't. That didn't. I don't know why they chose to do that. The reason Broadway is not doing so well is because they're trying to adapt movies into musicals, and it's not working. It's not working. They have to go back to the golden days when a Broadway producer knocked on the door and
We
said,
need to watch
"Hey,
the Near Automata play.
yeah, exactly," or "Hey, I got an idea for you for a musical." That's what we need to get back
Yeah,
get back into that because they don't again some movies do not translate into a musical. Some do and some don't. The one that I think another one that didn't, I wish had did but didn't, was Annie the musical was which I saw as a kid and loved it, was a golden hit on Broadway, but in the 80s when they tried to make it a movie, the film flopped. It just didn't. Annie just,
Twice.
yes. And I said they need to stop it.
The
They
second one even
musical
more
just cannot be
worse.
adapted to film. It just, oh yeah, that second one was worse than the first. That when I saw that second one, I'm like, the first one now looks better. I think that's better
I still love the first
than
one,
that one.
but when I gave the remake a chance, but I'm like the only the only song that I liked in that movie was Take It All or New York City by Jane Fox, and
I think,
we all know why.
yeah,
We
yeah.
all know why.
Yes, I do. I think they made that. They just wanted to do Heart Knock Life. I really think
I'm
that's the only
like
reason why they did
the
that.
song and worse, the song is so good. It would have been better had Annie not sing the latter half of the part of the song.
Yes,
Mhm.
It's
and
one of
the
the reasons
elephant.
why I barely even listen to that song because I know that part's coming up, and that's the only one that's gonna ruin the song for me because bless her heart, the child can't sing.
No.
She is auto tuned to the T. She is auto tuned throughout that whole movie. So
Yes.
think about it like this: you're hearing Jamie's natural voice throughout that whole sequence, and this
Mm-hmm.
it's a beautiful song too. What he's singing, teaching, singing about how you can have it all if you put your mind to it. How you can take it all if you step into the play and put your name to it. You know, and then
Mm-hmm.
she comes and I'm like,
And just then yeah,
just just
yeah.
dri- just dries the song out, considering that especially when it's the part where Jamie just puts his heart and soul into it. She just sounds like this. Granted, if you didn't watch the scene, you kind of know. If you watch the scene, you kind of know why she sung it that way, because in the scene she's supposed to be enamored by how he carries himself. But uh, you would think that they would have her match the tempo that he's going for, because
Mhm.
he's putting bass into not bass. He's putting in more a bit of a emotion, like in the
Mhm.
last half of the song where we get to the tail end, and she just near monotone. Like, they did not give her no tone direction. I'm like, you bless your heart, child. Oh, you can't act and you can't sing, and I feel ashamed that they roped you into this.
Yeah, well, they didn't give her any singing lessons or a vocal coach to try to get her to where
Don't even
to
get me
where it didn't
started on
belong.
over the fact that she could barely even read. Yeah, she's in school and in foster care.
And
Yeah.
the elephant in the room. Annie is a red-headed little girl.
Mm-hmm.
Red-headed little girl. I repeat, red-headed little girl.
Mm-hmm.
Red-headed little girl. The minute I saw it, I'm like, oh, this is not going to work. This is
Yeah,
not
because
going to
that
work.
totally. Yeah, because that's gonna start up a downward trend where they turn gingers into black. They just turn gingers into black characters.
I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
Or an,
do a random
or
video
any,
about
or
that.
any other race.
Definitely gonna.
Right? You have to go.
I'm
You
I'm
have to look
preparing a
for these
list
people.
of things I'm gonna record in the future, because I'm definitely gonna be talking about the whole redhead situation.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
miss redheads. I liked Annie with her big red hair. I liked her like that.
Me
And then
Truth be
I
too.
go
told,
in like, what
and
this?
it's the reason
Where's
why I
the
like the
afro?
original way better than the remake, because that girl can sing.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he can.
Yeah. Yes, she can.
Redheaded Annie can sing than Black Annie. Yeah, I said it on Finals Channel. I prefer the white girl over the black girl. Speaketh the black
Well,
man.
well, back then. Well, back then, Wolf like meritocracy was king until
My
somewhere
wife
somewhere
said it
between.
too when we saw that movie. She went out. She said, "I rather I watch the original. I prefer the old one better." I was like,
Yep.
"Yeah, yeah." They didn't even need. You know what's also bad about that remake?
And
Forced conflict at the tail end.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like, they
That
they were straight up about to go pursue the fake parents. Not There was no malevolence even behind it, and yet when they go to tell them, like, look, we're going to change our mind about this. These parents went and turned this whole sequence to a car chase. I was like, and at the back of my mind as I'm watching this, there is absolutely. I was liking the movie up until that point, mind you. I ain't afraid to admit that there's some things I like about this movie, but look, like, I was liking it up until that point. It's like they kept going. I was like, why is you keeping going? Why is you speeding on the freeway? Why is you turning this into America's scariest car chases? Endangering that little girl in that car. Y'all deserve to go to jail. Y'all should stop.
We're fine. Oh,
Y'all
that's
ain't
funny.
even y'all ain't even step out and say, "Look, I thought you were somebody trying to steal Andy. I thought you guys were about to attack us. We didn't know what was going on. So we sped up. I'm so sorry. None of that. They just went to together at last, together forever. They went
Yeah.
all in that and stuff. I'm like, oh, so we just gonna we just gonna ignore the fact that a minute ago there was a car chase.
Final Street, no more.
Lives was on the line, almost about to lose their lives and stuff, or get into a car accident, get into some car injuries or whatever, and then suddenly we happy. It's a heroic moment, man.
Good.
No, I'm not
Oh
good,
God.
but you can continue.
What was I about to say? Mm. Do you think it's in there because of a lack? Do you think many of this stuff now? Do you think it's just all? You think there's just a lack of talent because it looks like it is?
it's it's a little bit, it's that
Mm-hmm.
definitely I think it's lack of talent. They're not hiring talented writers
And
as
the
far as
lowering of standards.
yes, activists are taking this stuff over and they have no talent whatsoever.
Well, it's because they just have this. It's because
They
of this
never
very.
had talent. All they have is diaries, essays, and columns. That's what you're reading. Their diaries, their essays, and their columns,
Yeah,
masquerading
and
as
Yeah,
stories. Wait, let
Gail
finally
Simone
have a
like
crack at it.
alright, it's really because they
Yeah,
just
Gail
have
Simone
this very.
found a way to get into the comic industry.
And it's mainly because these people have just this very, very black and white worldview. And it's just that, like, I gotta, like, I gotta make sure this character is, like, every facet of my being, or else I'm not happy. Or, like, a disabled people can only write disabled characters, or a black character can write only black people. Bull crap. Yes, I know
Well, I would.
Christopher Priest. I know Christopher Priest did his run on Black Panther, and I heard it was pretty good. But yet still, you have
Jesus,
many
I
opportunities.
wonder what it would be like if a retard to write a retard.
Like
Yeah, and then I put the duty in my BBB. But baby, that's good.
that's
But baby.
that's that's what they think it is, and it's
Mhm.
so black and white. It's so
I would.
Oh
I wouldn't
man,
even call it
I
black and
would
white.
love
It's
to
actually.
see a stutterer write for a stutterer.
oh my god, speak up.
Like, yeah, I guess. Well, well, I wouldn't even call it black and white. It's reductive and narrow-minded thinking that these cats are
Oh,
operating
don't
on.
even get me started
So,
on Tourette's writing for Tourette's.
Oh my
And
God.
then piss
Uh,
on Jesus pa with Capalea, if I may add, and the script look like they done scribbled all over it like a child, a 5-year-old trying to write.
yeah, granted, like each of us in this live stream, like we know a couple of people like who are or everything thing that Wolf, Final, and all of
God
us here have
forbid
mentioned.
we
Like
hire a
we do
Down
their quick.
syndrome person to write for
oh,
somebody with
he's
Down
still on it.
syndrome. You
Yeah,
go in, knock on the door. Hello, is the script ready? You open the door, he out.
and
And,
anyway,
and it says on the paper, the snooze.
anyway, all that, for each of us here in this panel, we know people who happen to be part of that demographic, and even they like take offense to that because they grew up on characters who are not like them because like they form an attachment. And they inspire them to rise up from whatever hangups that they're currently or they had went through at the time.
Yes.
Oh yeah, oh, a good example of someone with a messed up brain is the writer that wrote the She-Hulk TV show. Oh, that Jessica
Oh
Gal.
yeah.
That don't get me in the room. I'm trying not to use four
So is
little
the script
words.
ready? So the script ready? Okay, here it is. What was all these polka dot button things? Uh, that's Braille. Why is the script in Braille? Because the writer is blind. Why do we hire a blind writer? Because the sensitivity supervisors said only a blind person can write for a blind person.
Get out.
But the dude writes in Braille. How the heck everybody gonna read all this? How we gonna translate all this? Are we gonna have to bring him in here to translate for us so we can put this all on text? Do you know how many hours it's gonna take? He gonna rub his hands through the Braille, and we gotta follow along with him. You you.
It
I
it
sure
takes
hope you can
very
hire somebody who can type real
long time.
fast.
Hmm.
Yeah, and well, to translate Braille to English, it takes time. Time. And yeah, we made it. We're not blind. Like each of us here, we're not blind, disabled, or whatever. But we can write better stories than these people right here.
The
And
writers, they,
a lot of people, a lot of writers and artists from across the generations and decades, like they're able to write and or illustrate whatever characters they want, even though they're not those characters. Heroes
Yes.
from the race and religions to the political, political persuasions, everything. Even if they're even regardless if they're able or disabled, they're writing characters.
yeah, that's the point. And you relate to them as people. You don't relate to them as a pronoun. A writer comes knocking on the door. Okay, what's the hero's superpower? Oh, he's gay. Okay, yeah, that's all well and good, but what makes it special about him? He's gay. Oh, but okay, but what is his powers? What does he do? He's gay. Yeah, I know that, but what is it that's how they think? Nothing. He's gay. What else is there is for the character to have? See, that's how those writers think. He's gay, so that's it. That so what kind of food does he eat? How was he raised? When he grow up, why does he want to be a hero? He's gay. That's how they
Yeah,
write
that's
now.
over a single character trait. That's
Yeah.
how it defines a character. Just one single trait instead of just like anything else about them. Like, what are their aspirations? Like, how do they get to be this, or how they get to be this way, or what? How do they even carry themselves, or what are their interests? What makes them tick? Anything like that. But apparently, it's from any form of character traits or any form of sexuality. That's why we have these people over at Marvel. Like, there's like multiple Spider-Man knockoffs like Miles Morales that Brian Michael Bendis made, which, by the way, he made him just to replace Peter, and apparently everyone else seems to care about him as much as they say they want to. And even though, but oh, Miles Morales' defining character trait is that he actually carries that same responsibility of Peter. So he's basically Peter Parker. He's basically Peter Parker, except half his intelligence is gone, all of his problems are gone, and he's just given a difference, and he's just been race swapped.
Peter Parker, if you turn the contrast down.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
Or just Gwen Stacy, because we got to get a lot of the girls into Marvel Comics now, because now Gwen Stacy is the one who's Spider-Man now, or Ghost Spider, or this disabled or no, this paralyzed
Yeah,
um
there's this paralyzed Spider-Man. Yeah, I don't know who it is.
yeah,
I
and
just heard
that's a
about it.
girl, and of course she has a pride flag for a cover when she covers up her legs when she's on the wheelchair, because of course she would, and apparently part of her wheelchair on that, even though how is she able to climb
Because
through the
every disabled
walls?
person has to be gay, apparently.
Yeah, because apparently they think everyone that's either from a certain sexuality is a majority instead of a minority.
Or at least want to
or
step, at
if they're
least want to step
disabled,
orientation on
physical or
anybody who they
mental.
deem as the underdog.
Well, they're well, what these people are doing, they're trying to make the exceptions the rule. Well, and now, don't don't take anything we say like out of malice. Malice. 'Cause we know like there's nothing wrong. No, there's nothing
Yeah,
with people
okay,
like
but
men and women like who are outside of the norm, the standards. It's like they're humans and they are entitled to the same rights and opportunities as everyone else.
yes,
However, they are not the majority. And
yes.
there's nothing to complain about. And for a good long while, like these exceptions were able to live their lives just like everyone else.
They think what they are is heroic, not who they are. The character is heroic because they're gay. The character is heroic because they're a minority. The character is heroic because um skin color. They think that's all. That's why these characters are empty, because they don't understand again what makes these characters beloved. They just feel, well, this character is transgender, so that I don't need to make you love this character. You should like this character anyway because they're transgender. I don't need to
Bitch,
give
I've
you the
seen
reason.
characters. Look, bitch, I've seen two characters in Fire Emblem that are bisexual. Niles from Fire Emblem Fates, and that's not his defining character trait. His defining character trait is that he's quite the troublemaker. He likes to cause trouble. That's basically like what he does. That's basically what all or not all he does. That's one of his defining character traits is that he's quite the troublemaker. He likes to tease with people a lot. In fact, he does have a pretty well, not a pretty jaded worldview, but a pretty cynical or not. How should I describe this? To describe Niles, he's a trickster, basically.
Yeah.
And then another bisexual character in Fire Emblem. This time female. It's I forgot what's her name. She looks like Tharja from Fire Emblem. She looks like Tharja from Fire Emblem Awakening because they carried a lot over the most of the major cast from Awakening all the way to most of the characters in Fates. And she's actually bisexual in Fates. They're not the same character. They just have the similar design. Probably just there as like an Easter egg, probably. But she's already. But that's not her defining character trait because her defining character trait is that she's much more, almost a bit similar to Tharja. She's a bit more dark. She's kind of an outcast, basically.
It's interesting that you can remember that, because I asked a young man, who likes Miles Morales. So I said, well, tell me what you like about. He's very rare because mostly everybody I know personally do not like Miles Morales. It's honest. So I asked him, what do you like about Miles Morales? He said, oh, he looks like me. I said, okay, all right. What's your favorite story about Miles Morales? I really don't know. I said, well, can you tell me
Yes.
why with powers you like? Oh, I don't know his powers. I said, okay, well, that just tells me he could not tell me one story for Miles Morales. All he kept saying was, well, he looked like me. That's why I like him. I said, what is he? Does he eat a favorite food that you like?
Yeah.
Or do you feel his emotions? He said, I don't know. Okay, that tells me a lot right there. That tells me a lot.
Because even when
Do you experience flashbacks on why? On if you ask when you ask go up to people and ask them why did you vote for Obama?
and so and this is even
Good
the thing
question.
when people even try to make a film adaptation to give Miles a character arc, they still fall under this trap of making Miles Morales Peter darker, as Eric July likes to call him. And so then
Yet in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, where it's like that incarnation of Miles Morales has more character than comic book Miles.
and yet they still fall under this trap of making him Peter Parker but black.
Yeah,
That's his
because
problem.
see, that's why
Mhm.
I'm not digging Miles. I feel like they want to make him Peter Parker's replacement. I
And
think
that
they're
was the
trying
whole
to push
reason
him
why
out.
Brian Michael Bendis has written him that way. And that's the same thing what he did with the same thing with Riri Williams as Ironheart when to try to get her into the picture when Tony Stark was gone.
After Civil War II of all events, which he has also written.
Yes. And so then Peter had been around at least somewhere after 10 years when Peter's first appearance. there's already a lot of things that already defined his character by going through an arc, such as the Sinister Six, the death of Gwen Stacy, the Green Goblin saga, etc. What does Miles have? And oh yeah, but there's already one that already defines his character and much about like how much he even has to rely on Peter, but relies on others. But yet, even though he does mess up, it's still Peter Parker, and nothing interesting is much more about him.
Here you
Well,
have.
granted, Peter has been around for 60 plus years.
Exactly.
Mhm. There's a reason why he's been around. Here you have Marvel Comics' top most popular character over everybody. He is their
And
best
yet nobody
seller.
else even reads him.
Right.
Oh yeah, but there's this one story. Shut up. The only reason look, nobody's it's good that you already know about Miles' defining character, but the problem is it really isn't because everything about Miles is already Peter Parker. And oh, but you're already about that. Oh my god. That's exactly what Marvel wants you to think about this.
Yeah, the professor talked about that in one of his dreams that they basically wrote Miles to make you forget about Peter Parker, to replace him,
Yeah,
which
and
is
what makes
stupid.
Peter Parker, why everyone relates to Peter a lot, what makes Spider-Man special, and yet they're already doing this with literally everybody else. And yes, we got Scarlet Spider, the Ben Reilly Spider-Man, then May May Parker.
Yeah, Mayday
Mayday.
for
Yeah,
Marvel.
that's
Yeah, for MC2.
Mayday Parker.
We also have
Peter
Kane.
Parker. Yeah, Peter Parker and Mary Jane's daughter. Miguel O'Hara, Spider-Man 2099. Those actually have characters. They're not there to replace Peter.
You want to know
They're
what's gonna backfire all this replacement therapy that they're doing?
yeah.
Is that they can try to burn a lot of the books that came before, but Peter Parker will forever be burned in our memory. They can write rewrite his story. They can rewrite a new narrative around him, but people will know the zeitgeist about Peter Parker forever because there will be people like us still retelling the same story over and over again. And there's more material of Peter Parker than there is of Miles Morales. There's more material of Tony Stark than there is of Riri Williams and any other replacement character that's going to try to take the mantle without earning the mantle of what came before.
Mm.
Amadeus Cho, people say they like him, but can you tell me what makes him so cool? What makes you like him? No, but can you tell me what you like about Bruce Banner? It's the fact that everybody has been in the same position as Bruce Banner. A lot of
Yes.
people has been in the same position as Bruce Banner. No matter even if you were that person that was raised a choir boy or a farm boy, you have been in a position where Banner was. Granted, Banner was from an abusive household
Mm-hmm.
to
Hmm.
get where it was, but everybody has always had that moment where their rage almost overtook them, or have
Yes.
took them at some point. Have caused them to lash out in any way possible, either physically, verbally, or
Emotion,
even
emotionally.
emotionally.
Yes. And
That's
oh yeah.
that's what
And oh
that's where
yeah.
they relate
Another.
to.
Mm.
Who want? Sorry, final. Who want
Okay.
to read about a Hulk that has full control of himself or of his emotions?
But even that,
We've always loved Bruce Banner when he's always done his best to secure his emotions and his attitude.
Yes. And oh
but
yeah. There's another.
even
There's another character.
back then, like
Mm.
before Amadeus Cho became a Hulk, like he was already his own character and established himself as a long range member of Bruce's supporting cast. Like when he was
Yeah.
human.
Yeah. Like they like make him go on space adventures. Why you have to write him as a Hulk?
Yeah, I mean, like the last, I mean, one of his defining moments was helping Bruce and the other Hulks. Hulks like it gets the intelligentsia.
Yeah. And oh yeah, there's another character that a lot of people like to say that she's really popular, but yet she really isn't. Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel.
Oh yeah, nobody likes Miss
She had
Marvel. The
look
Kamala Khan. No, she's
as
not
as
as
a
popular.
as a good friend once said, there are no bad characters, only bad writers. With Kamala
Yes.
Khan, She had potential, however, that potential ended up being squandered.
Yeah, but who cares about her?
People care about Carol Danvers, Miss Marvel, more.
Yes,
And since then like her, Monica Rambeau, and Janice Bell, and Phyla-Vell, like yeah, all four of them, and even the Skrull, like who masqueraded as Marvel, like each of them like were able to carry on his legacy.
yes,
Who was it? Sama Amanat. This is the one that created Miss Marvel.
Sana Amanad and G. Willow Wilson.
Well, see, they didn't create a character. Sama Amanat was just writing her own self. That was a self insert. That's why that character is not popular. She thinks in her head it's popular, or they're trying to make her popular. And I don't care what nobody say about the Marvels, the
but
streaming show.
how many people read them?
Yeah, I mean,
Oh, but my friends read
I
them. My
read the
friends read
first,
them. How many?
I
No
read the
one
first.
hardly ever cares. Like we got Miles Morales, we got Kamala Khan, we got Carol Danvers as Captain Marvel, and then there's also I think there's one more I'm also forgetting about. But we got actually those three that I can already name off the top of my head. That these three are meant to be the popular characters, and yet nobody ever reads them, and they're already there on the shelves, ready to read. The problem is nobody even wants to read them. Why? They're shit. I'm sorry, they're shitty characters.
The stories are not good. I read the first volume of Kamala Khan Miss Marvel. It was decent at best. However, in each reading, I was thinking of ways on how this situation or her characterization could have been done better. And if you start thinking ways on how you would have written this, then that brings up a major red flag in the storytelling department.
Yeah, in fact, and oh yeah, actually, not only shitty characters, they're really shitty. They're poorly written too. In fact, Kamala Khan, all of her stories throughout, it's just her fangirling over other Marvel superheroes. Just like,
And it's not a bad character trait. However, you still need to give her more depth.
yes,
There's no, like you said, Dominic, there's no death, there's no journey, for her because Sama Amanat wrote her as perfect. There's no journey that she takes because Sama Amanat, like I said, it's a self insert. Except the fact that I'm of a certain descent of race, and that's supposed to be what makes me special. There's another reason because first of all, Sama Amanat can't write. I don't care what she says, she can't. And
Well,
nobody
G.
in
Willow
Marvel knows how to
Wilson,
write.
she was the no G. Willow Wilson. She was the main writer for Kamala Khan Miss Marvel for volume one and two until volume three. Solid and Ahmed like took over writing duties for Kamala Khan. But even then, even though like she has fans. Right, we're not going to deny that. However, however, she she can be done better than how she's being handled now. That was not. Oh, moreover, the Avengers game didn't do her any favors either.
It
oh no,
really didn't.
it didn't. I think that even the
It didn't
sales
do
of
any
the game.
Spider-Man. It didn't do Spider-Man favors. Do Spider-Man any favors either when they decided to put him in there. I mean, hey, they got the '90s like Steve Ditko, Stan Lee Spider-Man in there, or was it? Did Jack Kirby do some Spider-Man?
No, it was just Lee and Ditko.
Oh, because I was thinking of like another like who else did Spider-Man like straight after Stan Lee and Steve Ditko.
John Romita Sr.
That's who. Like they got John Romita Sr. and Stan Lee Spider-Man design, but yet they still give him the Tom Holland voice of Spider-Man. Like they still make him more like Ultimate Spider-Man. Like, oh my god. He's a man, not a boy. Even when he's
Yeah,
in college, not in high school. Oh my god, Marvel, let him grow up.
yeah.
And
Cause I mean, every time,
get Miles the fuck out of here. Get all those
yeah,
knockoff Spider-Mans the fuck out of here.
yeah. I mean, what hurts Miles is like he was set up as a successor to Ultimate Marvel Peter Parker after his climactic battle with Green Goblin Norman Osborn. But so by
Oh, I thought
planting
it was
him,
Electro.
oh no, it came out after Ultimatum. So it led up
Oh,
to a storyline where Peter and Norman like have their final battle, which leads to their inevitable deaths. Yeah,
hmm,
so in that storyline they were taking cues from Death of Superman. Well, Miles, I was like he set up as Peter's successor, and you did see him like struggle
yeah,
to carry on the legacy that ultimate Peter had established for himself. However, by placing him in a supporting cast in the main Marvel Universe 616 after the events of Secret Wars, then and all of that development what became null and void.
yeah. And so for you see this, so for you see this, tracing this all the way back to Kingdom Come, even though as much as okay, I do recommend this is actually, I wouldn't recommend as, I don't think this is like, or no, this I do think this is DC at its finest because of how much we've gone over with Justice League, the world's greatest superheroes from the previous 5 episodes. This is also one of them. And I know I keep saying this a lot because it is, because that's always been the theme about DC Comics. This is one of them at its finest, even though this is an Elseworld story. And so then I do recommend that you actually do read this book. It is amazing, especially just for the art alone. Any book with Alex Ross's artwork for the art alone is always amazing.
Oh, any of those scenes from Kingdom Come, they can be converted into posters.
Absolutely, yeah. You can even like you could search them online and you even use them as wallpapers. Just like it's so good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, we can go on and on how storytelling and not just capes like how they were handled then to how it is now. We can like further expand on these ideas like in our upcoming weekend live stream.
Right.
And I don't know, think of an aptly title. It's a play on what happened to the man of tomorrow. It's what happened to fun in fiction.
Yes.
Yes, I agree. That's what fiction's supposed to be. It's supposed to be fun.
Escapism.
Right. And I think the people writing it now don't want the fun or escapism. They want the reality. That's another fact. The problem by the stories are terrible. Excuse me, terrible. They don't understand what fantasy is. You have to make it like the real world. You have to make it like the real world out there. Then you're missing the fantasy
Who
part.
even reads nonfiction?
or sci- or science fiction. Because like they try
If
to
I
not
may,
just fantasy but science
Hmm?
fiction too serious.
Wolf?
if I may, how is making the world look like reality helping you any better with your fucking silly ass mental health? You can't even
Yes, 'cause-
face the damn reality that you deal with when you step outside. So why would you even think, constantly remind yourself of the reality that you face and live in is worth it in reading in fiction?
yeah, because like,
Mm,
what's the point of reading a nonfiction book if you want to do that? Because if I want to read a nonfiction book, I'd read a history book, not just to know about history. Because like, I actually have it up here. I'm not actually gonna take
Excuse
that
the
down.
second F bomb, but
Yeah.
that
Actually, yeah, I did that too by mistake.
you get one. That counts.
Yeah.
and nonetheless, not now you two are even.
Yes.
No, he only
Not
did
even.
2. I just only did 1.
Well, the point still stands.
I know.
If you're not if you're right if you're writing if you want to make work of fiction like realistic, and I use that term loosely because they don't even know what realism is.
Yes.
Wolf
Because
is
like,
right.
I'm
Realism will
actually gonna.
dictate if I punch you in your nose
Yeah, because like,
at best 3 times, that nose is going to either crack or break.
yeah, because if I want to read a nonfiction book, I read a history book. I have one up here, which I'm not gonna take that down because it is an antique. So then,
Hmm. Oh, so it's one of those history books. All right.
yes, and so then just to read up on the history of a certain type of one part of the world, whether it's England, the U.S., Japan, China, Russia, Germany, Egypt, specifically going in the history, the actual history, not ancient history, the actual history.
or
That
or
means
revisionist history. History. What's just something that's been plaguing us as a culture in Western civilization because they want because they don't they want to tell the politically correct history instead of real history, telling
yes,
things like they are, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
yes, like that it goes into their economy, their yeah, that the history that goes in that book that I had up there. It talks about everything about its own history and especially how it came to be. It even goes about the details and how it is, whether it's an economy, it's politics, everything.
Well,
And
exactly.
I just
in
do
other
that
words,
for
you're giving it an honest look on whatever it is your antique history book is covering.
yes,
You're not being fed fluff or revisionism.
yes. And so then that's that book. And I only do this just to research on that, not to just escape not just to escape reality, but if I ever do, I would either read a book or play video games for the matter, or watch any other forms of movies or shows.
Also,
Yeah.
historical fiction is a thing,
Yes,
and
but there's
in that realm, you can still offer escapism to your readers.
yes. In fact, there are many great non or actually many great
Historical fiction.
historical fiction books. In his historical fiction movies, Master and Commander. That movie's amazing.
Ah,
Yeah.
man, I've known about known about the movie for years. However, I have yet to watch it.
Yeah, or The Last of the Mohicans. Uh, that movie, it too is amazing. The Last
I
Samurai.
have
That
yet to
movie,
even finish Master and Commander.
yeah. I mean, it is a
Or
pretty
Dan-
long movie.
or Dancing with Wolves.
I gotta
That
watch
too.
that some with Wolves.
Yeah, we
That's
got so
good.
many historical fiction movies, and yet they actually tell us, and yet they actually give us escapism by actually being set in the moments of history.
Well, I actually like Kate
Yeah,
Blanchett's
actually,
performance as Elizabeth in the Elizabeth movies. I like that because I like that time period, and I liked her in that film.
Mm,
That's just me.
yeah,
no, no, oh, we get it. And,
yeah,
heck, I'll throw in the Mask of Zorro, even though it's a swashbuckling action adventure movie. You are given history. In this case, the history of California.
Yes. So you that's interesting that you bring that up, Dominic, because in some fictional worlds you do get, even though they're fictional characters, they are set in a realistic setting.
hmm
X-Men First Class is set during the Cuban Missile Crisis of the 1960s. So they
yeah,
put them right smack, and that was a historical event. So it
yeah.
can be done,
Even though they
do
could
it
have
right.
added on the racism, even though they
hmm
could have added on the racism on that due to like the prejudice towards mutants that the X Men is constantly faced with 24/7. But even though the director, which it would be a good idea, but that just be adding a bit much than what's already letting on with the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Right. Yeah, I
Well,
understand.
what Matthew Vaughn was doing is yes, he was adapt. Even though it was, I want to say it's a complete adaptation of the actual X-Men First Class series. And a lot of creative liberties were taken. Like
hmm
he was able to tell a complete origin story of the X-Men and the Brotherhood by following what Stan and Jack were doing during their run on the X-Men. What was going on like in the world at the time, that's in the background.
hmm
And when you do it like that, it can be successful. You know what they say, you know that saying they like to use, you know that saying, it has to be set in the real world or reflect the real world. That's what they like to say. That's why everything is crap. That's why Rings of Power is just an abomination, because the people working on it said, well,
Despite
we
taking
wanted
place in Middle Earth,
to
which is a
Which is
fantasy.
it's a
which is
fantasy.
it's also based on medieval Europe.
Yes.
Yes, medieval Europe. which means you're not going to have a lot of
And it is a very
black
religious
people.
time. Medieval
Yes.
Europe. Medieval Europe is a very religious time. That's why Final
Mhm.
Fantasy 16's aesthetics is based on that.
So you're not going to have a lot of, and I quote, and I mean this, black knights. What I mean by black, I mean skin tone, running around in Middle Earth, because it's set in the Middle Age, during that time period. And there were not a lot of black people in that time period. So that would make sense. But good old Rings of Power, once you're convinced that it is, by putting in all the tokenism, and that's where but again, the whole point of this is that's another problem why these stories don't work. It's a fantasy world. It is not your reality. It is a fantasy world. And when you say,
Yeah.
well, we have to make it reflect the world around us, that
How many
line they
writers do
love
you
to
think
use.
they would? How many writers do you think they were written down that they would write down what they would want to see? George Lucas, Dr. Seuss. They've written all this stuff out because they wrote what they want to see, not what focus groups wanted to see or what audiences wanted to see. George Lucas wrote Star Wars because he wrote what he wanted to see in Star Wars because he was passionate about it, not because he would want to cash in on it. Dr.
Right.
Seuss wanted to. Dr. Seuss written his books because he wrote what he wanted to see in his books to give to children and actually have enduring morals. Not what focus groups wanted to see by just like having it half-assed.
Or
Exactly.
Roald Dahl. No, with his books, yeah, they may have his target demographic may have maybe for kids. However, there are adults can read them as well. Well, because like he touches on some mature things. However, they did not detract the story. They enhance them.
Yes. In fact, there's actually one
Also, and more he treats kids with the same respect and dignity as he would with adults. He doesn't talk down to them.
yeah, treated them as equals.
Yes. Yes.
You guys have a
The
lot
right.
of energy tonight.
Well,
Yeah,
I,
even though
well, I did mention we can expand on these ideas
yeah,
in the coming weekend,
yeah,
of what happened to escapism.
yeah. So yeah, um
But
I
at
do
the end of the day, people, if you have yet to read Kingdom Come by Alex Ross and Mark Wade, when you find the time, go to your comic book shop, your thrift store, anywhere, and buy yourself a copy where you are exposed to a story that exemplifies on what it means to be a hero.
yes. Because as we've discussed a little bit here, because writing does take commitment, this is real commitment right here. One of the real commitments, at least. It takes commitment and knowledge about the craft. Because there's a lot that goes into writing. There is a lot. In fact, there are a lot of books about this, but we'll talk about that in a weekend stream on Wolf's channel. But I do like to thank all you guys for participating on my stream talking about this amazing story.
Happy to have contributed in the discussion, my friend.
Thank you for inviting us. I have enjoyed it very much. I think the reason we're probably so energized is because the story that you read is an energizing story.
Yeah,
I think it brings out the passion in everybody with Kingdom Come.
it does. And Wolf, anything you got to say?
Read the damn book.
Anyways, yeah. Anyways, well, that about does it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like what you saw, click like and subscribe and share with your family and friends. And make sure you ring that notification bell. That way you get notified of the latest videos. And as this is going to be at least the final episode on Comic Studies in a bit of a while, because it will be laid to rest. It won't be the end of it. It will just be laid to rest until in June, I will be doing episode 7 of Comic Studies, talking about Superman for all seasons as celebration for Superman's 85th anniversary this year. Be sure you stay tuned for that. It's going to be quite the doozy. And once again, thank you guys so much for watching. This is Final Fantasy Fan 12 signing off. And remember, may the light